Well, good afternoon, everybody. 6 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I am Brian Wilson. I am your friend and radio buddy. And this is the July 25th, 2024 edition of The Drive, where we're going to get you home safely from wherever you are, whether you're out there running errands or whether you're out there coming home from work or picking up the kids. Well, I guess the kids are not back in school yet, are they, Chris? I think
not quite.
Not
a couple
quite.
more weeks.
So, a couple more weeks. So not quite that. But whatever you're doing, we're going to be with you. Maybe you're taking your kids to the pool. Maybe you're just taking the kids back from summer camp. Whatever you're doing, you just keep the radio on, and you'll not only inform your kids, but you'll also, get your kids, thinking in the right direction. And what's wrong with that? Let's see. What are we going to do? I think we'll start with our 2024 update today because we got some new information. Just a moment ago, Kamala Harris, the pool that is now traveling with Kamala Harris, pool reporters, have reported in that Kamala Harris says she's ready to debate Donald Trump. She's agreed to the debate, and I guess now it's all about trying to work out the fine details of whether they stand, whether they sit, where the debate will be, who will be the moderators, all of that kind of stuff is now underway. But Kamala is saying, at least in a short statement to the traveling press corps with her, that she will be willing to debate Donald Trump. I think that'll be a great debate. I'm looking forward to that. 2024 numbers. We have some new numbers, and we have to look at these numbers very closely because we have had such a change in the lineup now that we know who the Democrat nominee is apparently going to be. And so now the polling is not about Trump and Biden, but rather Trump and Harris. And so how does it look? Well, Rasmussen reports, which has always been sort of very positive on Trump. His numbers have always looked really good in the Rasmussen reports polls. But Rasmussen report has the general election at Trump plus 7. 7 points in the lead. Now, there are others that are much tighter than that, but that's an interesting number. The Hill and Emerson have done a battleground poll, not all the battleground states, but a bunch of them. And there's interesting news in that. Arizona, Trump plus 5 in the two-way. It's plus 8 in the five-way. And Georgia, it is plus 2 in the two-way and plus 3 in the five-way. That is a little tighter than we have seen before. Michigan, in the two-way, it is Trump plus 1. That has tightened a little bit, it would seem. And Wisconsin is a dead even tie. Right across the boards, it's a tie. So that's beginning to look interesting. Now, I think it's normal for these numbers to tighten up once this announcement was made. People didn't want Biden. Now they've got a new candidate. And then there are a certain number of people who were only looking toward Trump because they thought Biden couldn't get the job done. But now he's not going to be the nominee. He's not going to be the next president. He's basically a lame duck. Every time I mention him, you're going to hear this because that's what he is. He's a lame duck. An angry lame duck.
Sounds like the duck from the Duck Hunt game on Mario, the Nintendo.
I don't know, but that duck is angry. And so is just Joe Biden. So, we now know who it's going to be. And and then now I think I really do believe the Democrats are going, oh, thank goodness it's not going to be Biden. We'll take anyone. Oh, Kamala? Yeah, we're all on board on that. But that's, as I think I heard Sean Hannity use the term, she's in her honeymoon period right now. You're going to get positive coverage, when you announce, and everybody who's been out there angsting over Biden is now going to be singing the praises of Kamala, but she's got a record that she's going to have to run on. Trump recognizes this. In his rally last night, he said, look, we've got a lot of things to talk about with Kamala. And he says, I'm trying to be nice these days, but...
For 3.5 years, Lion Kamala Harris has been the ultra-liberal driving force behind every single Biden catastrophe. She is a radical left lunatic who will destroy our country. If she ever gets the chance to get into office, we're not going to let that happen. You know, I was supposed to be nice. They say something happened to me when I got shot. I became nice. And when you're dealing with these people, they're very dangerous people. When you're dealing with them, you can't be too nice. You really can't be. So if you don't mind, I'm not going to be nice. Is that okay? I'm not.
It was,
I want me to be nice.
as you might tell there, it was okay with the audience there. And now it becomes the rewriting of the history of Kamala Harris. Nancy Berrigan's a Democrat from California, serves in the House. Now everybody's saying, hey, listen, just for the record, Kamala was not the border czar.
The vice president was never in charge of the border. She was never in charge of immigration policy. What Vice President Harris was in charge of addressing root causes of migration, a diplomatic effort in other countries, in the Northern Triangle.
Yeah. Okay, that's what they're going to try to say. This came up in the White House briefing today.
Democrats on Capitol Hill are being handed this card with talking points about the vice president and the border. Do you know who's handing this out?
I have no idea. You probably should ask her campaign.
So the first one says Vice President Harris was never appointed border czar. There's never been such a position. It doesn't exist. Why are Democrats so sensitive about the vice president and the border?
Why are Republicans so sensitive about actually not owning up to them getting in the way of a border deal?
See, that's a very clever technique she just used there. Peter Doocy asked a really good question. Why is everybody so sensitive about her, her being connected to the border? And what Karine did was she answered the question with a question. She went on immediate offense. And I don't think she ever really gets around to answering the question.
Why? Why won't they own up to that? Why won't they own up to the last president told them not to move forward? It was a bipartisan deal just right there, available to them, and they voted twice against it. Twice against it. Why are they so sensitive to moving forward and actually dealing on an issue that majority of Americans care about, is dealing with what's going on at the border?
Do you think that the border would be less of a talking point now if there was less migration to the border, say if somebody had addressed root causes of migration sooner?
Wait, hold on a second. Did you not hear the beginning of I know there were a lot of toppers, but one of the toppers, I talked about what we're seeing at the border. It's down by 55%, not because of Republicans in Congress and what they did. It's because of what this president and this vice president did. He moved forward and took actions to deal with what's going on at the border.
I don't think that's right. I think that, yes, indeed, migration to the border is down right now. And I think it's because, quite frankly, let's just be honest about it. The cartels are pretty smart. And they understand that they're going to do better under a Democrat administration than they are going to do under a Donald Trump administration. And so, therefore, they're trying to help out this president by slowing down the migration. Slowing it down, but there are still people who are trying to get to this country. And by the way, I still think they're flying people into the country. So they're doing everything they can to bring people in, but they don't like that picture. They don't like that narrative. So I think basically, without saying it, they have sort of done wink, 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 wink with the cartels. And they say, basically, if you want to continue to bring people across the border, you better help us out between now and the election. I really believe that there's sort of been some unofficial wink with a nod going on here in regard to that. Now they are rewriting the history that she's a liberal. Here's this. I love this story from Bongino.com. In an attempt at memory holding the past, GovTracker, which tracks the partisan leanings of members of Congress, deleted their data from 2019, which listed Kamala Harris as the senator that was furthest on the left. In other words, he was the most liberal senator. GovTrack is an organization that tracks congressional voting records, and they confirmed to Fox News Digital it had removed a 2019 webpage that ranked Kamala Harris as that year's most liberal U.S. senator, maybe sometime within the last 2 weeks. The self-described government transparency website, not very transparent if you're deleting all that data, scored Harris as the most liberal compared to all senators, even outranking Senator Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. But the webpage with the ranking, which was widely covered in news reports during the 2020 election, was recently deactivated. The link now displays a page not found message. That's all right. We remember, and the Wayback Machine remembers, and 60 Minutes actually brought this up in an interview with Kamala Harris.
You're very different in the policies that you've supported in the past. You're considered the most liberal United States senator.
Somebody said that, and it actually was Mike Pence on the debate stage. But
yeah, well, actually, the nonpartisan GovTrack has rated you as the most liberal senator. You supported the Green New Deal. You supported Medicare for all.
Well, she did. And it goes on and on and on. But I mean, you can take the page down, but you can't erase our memories. Everybody remembers that. And in fact, the GOP is now putting this is done by a Republican Senate campaign website. They put together some of the best hits of liberal Kamala.
I am Kamala Harris. My pronouns are she and her.
You're considered the most liberal United States senator. Well, actually, the nonpartisan GovTrack has rated you as the most liberal senator.
Do you have any plans to visit the border?
We are going to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. I am in favor of saying that we're not going to treat people who are undocumented and cross borders criminals. That's correct. That is correct.
A lot of the signs at the rally you just held were people standing there saying, abolish ICE.
Yeah.
Is that a position that you agree with?
We need to probably think about starting from scratch.
So you support giving universal health care, Medicare for all to people who are in this country illegally?
I am opposed to any policy that would deny in our country any human being public health, period.
Are you for defunding the police?
How are you defining defund the police? It's actually wrong and backward to think that more police officers will create more safety. We need to get rid of money bail.
Convicted, in prison, like the Boston Marathon bomber, on death row, people who are convicted of sexual assault, they should be able to vote?
I think we should have that conversation. I am prepared to get rid of the filibuster to pass a Green New Deal. Wow. I have always supported Medicare for all. I was very happy to sign on to Bernie's bill, and I give Bernie, frankly, a lot of credit. There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking.
Do you ban plastic straws?
I think we should.
I mean, the record is replete with evidence of her liberalism and how far out of the mainstream thought she is. So it's going to be easy picking. If these numbers tighten a little bit in the next few days, doesn't concern me a great deal because although there is a sigh of relief on the left side of the equation, on the right side of the equation, they are gearing up to tell the world and America and voters about Kamala Harris and her very incredible liberal record. And I think when that starts to sink in, just exactly who Kamala Harris is, she's in the big times now, and I think those numbers will correct very shortly. Again, she's in the honeymoon period, so this is probably going to be her best few days before things really start to get, pretty intense. Kamala Harris underperforming in the youth vote and first polling since Biden dropped out. This is, again, from Bongino.com. If Democrats were hoping to mobilize the youth vote by backing the cackling Kamala Harris, the first batch of data we have since Joe Biden dropped out suggests it isn't happening, at least not yet. If groping voters by age, the youth demographic overwhelmingly votes Democrat, a party they backed by double digits in presidential elections in the Obama and post-Obama era. In 2008, nearly 70% of voters under 30 voted for Obama, while he got 60% in 2012. Hillary Clinton got 58% of that demographic, and while Biden captured about 60%. But things aren't looking as optimistic for Harris, as noted in their reporting on the polling data, which Biden led Trump by 21 points in the age 35 demographic. Harris is leading by only 9 points. 9 points. Wow. Let's remember that we're at the end of where we were at the end of the 2020 campaign. Voters under the age of 35 were leading Biden by 21 points. Let's see for Kamala Harris. She's still ahead, but it's significantly less. Yeah, I see. That's the thing. You don't have to win the demographics if you take a significant portion of it away from your opponent. So if you take away a significant number of young voters, if you take a significant number of black voters, and right now that's somewhere around 20%, 21%, which is very high by historic levels. If you take away Hispanic voters, if you take away Asian voters, if you keep working on the demographics, you can peel off enough voters to succeed. Remember, again, Republicans are going to vote Republicans and Democrats are going to vote Democrats, but it's those people in the middle, the mushy middle, that are up for grabs, and you got to grab as much of that as you possibly can. And right now, it seems that Kamala's got some work to do, and Trump has got the wind at his back in this particular thing. YouGov poll, only 39% of independents say that Harris is qualified for the presidency. Only 39%. And, well, we've got a lot more to go through, but I mean, you get a good sense of where we are right now. Yeah, don't worry about the polls tightening. They'll tighten up a little, but I'm not at all concerned about it, given that it's going to be very easy to give America a lesson over the next few days at just how radical Kamala Harris is. 23 now, past the hour. You know, there are no pills or spinal creams that can fix your spinal disc problem. If you have pain in your back, it's because there's pressure on your nerves, and the creams and the pills, they can't do the job. You have really two choices here. One, undergo surgery. The other is to explore non-invasive spinal decompression, which I have done. It has helped me a lot. I chose non-surgical spinal decompression at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. They have state-of-the-art facilities, high-tech equipment that offers the latest non-surgical procedures. Getting better is important, so Dr. Kevin Mitchell and Dr. Ashley are offering half off spinal decompression treatments and half off the KT knee machine, which is sort of like spinal decompression treatments, except it's for the knee. And if you're a new patient, get this, your exam, your consultation, an x-ray, and your first treatment will only cost you $23. I'm Brian Wilson. I put my stamp of approval on the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Call them today at 615-246-5009. Learn more at painisbad.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Developments in Donald Trump's New York fraud case, and a massive wildfire in California exploding in size. We'll have those stories at 3:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It's 28 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock. Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in the chair and on the air all the way till 7 o'clock tonight. And we're glad that you're with us on this. Well, it's a little warmer than it has been the last couple of days. 87 degrees now in Nashville. I just want to get something off my chest. It's bugging me a lot. And while I got a minute or two here before we move on to the news, and after the news, by the way, we'll open the phones. We're gonna have conversation again like we did yesterday. I really think it's a good time for us to talk. But this thing is bothering me. I keep watching the news coverage of these major news events. And the video, it's like it's all pixelated and it's halting and it's bulky and it's horrible. And the television news organizations don't seem to care that the video that they're putting on is really substandard and quite ugly. And the reason I know is because they're relying on cell phone technology to send these pictures back. And what happens is you go to like a big rally or you go to the protest yesterday out in front of Union Station and everybody's on their cell phones. And therefore, you don't have the bandwidth to send your TV pictures back, and it gets all dixelated and pixelated, and it just, and halty and hard to watch. And it's, what it is? It's news organizations that are using the cell phone technology because it's cheap. Cheaper to do that than to send out a microwave truck like you used to, or a satellite truck to provide a crystal and pristine picture. And I'm done with it. I mean, I'm really tired of it. The news organizations have an obligation to provide, a watchable picture, and they're just doing it because they're cheap, and they're going to rue the day. Because I remember on 9/11, the cell phones didn't work at all. There's going to come a time where there's a major news story, and the networks and the news channels on cable are not going to be able to provide pictures of what's going on because the cell phones are overloaded and with people on the phone because they're panicked about what's happening. And I think they're going to rue the day that they have come to rely on this technology. In the meantime, it just is not watchable, and it's irritating to me. And I hope that the networks will see what has happened in the last few days as a wake-up call to actually seriously start providing the resources needed to bring back pictures that are usable. Maybe it's just me because I worked in television and I care deeply about the craft of television, but I think it bothers a lot of people. And I'm glad I got that off my chest. My rant for the day. After the news, we'll take your telephone calls on everything that's going on, as we have for the last few days. You got questions, we'll try to answer them. If you don't have questions, you just have something you need to get off your chest, do it in just a moment. Right now, 3:30 on Super Talk.
Good afternoon. We are coming up on 3:31. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Mostly cloudy, 84 degrees, a weather forecast, and a traffic update are on the way. The New York judge who oversaw former President Trump's civil fraud trial denied an attempt to kick him off the case. Trump's defense alleged that the judge, Arthur Engoron, spoke to a New York real estate attorney about the substance of the case. That's in violation of New York's Code of Judicial Conduct. But Engoron says that's not what happened. ABC's Aaron Katersky has more from New York.
Judge Engoron said that he was accosted by this lawyer, giving him unsolicited and unwelcome tirades about the case. And he said he didn't need some landlord-tenant lawyer giving him advice about a case he had overseen for 3.5 years. So he declined to recuse himself. He says he's been on the case for 3.5 years and is more than qualified to continue.
We now head out west, where a massive wildfire burns near Chico, California. It's exploded in size, and an unknown number of buildings have been destroyed.
In less than 24 hours, what's called the Park Fire burned over 71,000 acres. Incredible growth. It's been exploding at over 4,000 acres an hour at times. People living in one remote town outside of Chico Waco could not get out with the main road blocked by flames, so gates had to be opened on logging roads to let them down rural dirt roads to get to safety. A 42-year-old man is under arrest accused of starting the fire.
Now, here in Nashville, former President Donald Trump slated to deliver a speech at the Bitcoin conference here in Music City on Saturday afternoon. After his speech at the conference, there's an offer for attendees to meet with the former president. However, that meeting will cost a minimum of $800,000. Trump's Saturday speech is slated to last 30 minutes, beginning at about 2 o'clock. Conference leaders, they're expecting more than 20,000 people to attend their annual conference. Officials said they are in active talks with their security teams and are cooperating with Trump's Secret Service detail to ensure the event will be safe. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Let's talk about the folks over at DT McCall, a company that's been in business in Middle Tennessee for more than a century, more than 100 years. They now have 5 locations, and it's very likely one is not very far from where you are right now. And so, listen, why don't you find out about that by going to the website, dtmccalls.com. Listen, the thing you're going to find about DT McCalls is they got a great selection of stuff, appliances, furniture, whatever it is that you need to make your house a home, you're going to find it at DT McCalls. And then if you need, help in your yard, they got power tools and big zero-turn mowers. I got mine at DT McCall. I love my Cub Cadet zero-turn mower more than you can imagine, and you'll love yours as well. Everything that you're going to want for your house, you're going to find there. And they're going to deal with you honestly. They're not going to upcharge you for things like delivery, setup, and haul away. They're not going to play the games that the big box stores play. And it's a Middle Tennessee company that does business with other Middle Tennessee companies. Isn't that where you want to spend your money? Keep your dollars local? Of course it is. Find out about their 5 convenient locations by going to their website, dtmccalls.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
338 Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in the chair and on the air. Now, it has been a tumultuous period in the news. I mean, every news cycle has been dramatic. We've had all kinds of things that are breaking. I mean, we had the assassination attempt on Donald Trump and the investigation that follows. We've had Joe Biden. Joe Biden stepping aside. You see, he's a lame duck now. An angry lame duck.
Very angry.
That's an angry duck. Well, anyway, so we have, every time we mention Joe Biden, we have to do that. But I'm telling you, it's been crazy. And then the ascendancy of Kamala now as the official nominee. It seems all but official now that she'll be the nominee for the Democrats. And there's a lot there. And if you want to get it off your chest, if you got some thought that you want to express, if you're angry about something, if you want to have a question answered, maybe, because I spent a lot of time studying this stuff, maybe I can help you understand. There is confusion out there about a lot of stuff. 615-737-9986. Let's have a conversation. Let's consider this sort of like, our Phone Your Farm Friday, except it's only Thursday, all right? 615-737-9986. Got a lot of phone lines open. We'll start with Tanner in Eagleville. Tanner, you're on with Brian on the Drive.
Hi, Brian. How are you doing, sir?
I'm well. You? How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm just calling to ask you, have Republicans as well as the Trump campaign have taken measures in the swing states to implement their own ballot harvesting, mail-in voting, and early voting strategy in order to compete with the Democrats this election cycle? Have you heard if any of them are adopting those tactics?
Yes, and indeed it is. And this is something I'm very excited about, and that the Republican National Committee, Laura Trump has been very, very much involved in that process, and we've done a lot in trying to make sure that we're playing the game the same way that the Democrats played. So when early voting begins, there's going to be a big push to go in and vote early. Now, Republicans traditionally vote on Election Day, and you know what happens? Things come up. You get a thunderstorm, the kid's not feeling well, you can't break away, you can't go to the polls, something comes up, life intervenes, as I like to say, and so, you don't get there. But if you vote early, it's there. You know how you're going to vote on this. I mean, everybody within the sound of my voice pretty much has made up their mind, right? I mean, you know how you're going to vote. It's no big mystery. Go ahead and vote. And get it in the system so that it's there, and we don't have to worry about playing catch up on Election Day. All right, because the Democrats are very good at this, and wherever it is legal, they're going to do mail-in voting and early voting and bundling where it's allowed. So I'm very pleased about that. So the good news is, I think we're on it. I think that there's been a real effort to try to educate people to do that this time around. George, in Reading, Pennsylvania. Is it Reading or Reading? I always forget. Reading, Pennsylvania. Brian. George, you're up on the Drive. What do you say?
Okay. It's a pleasure talking to you, Brian. Listen to you often.
Thank you.
I expected last night to see a resignation and making Kamala president, and I still think that if Trump wins, I think he'll do that as soon as it's confirmed to make her president. Your thoughts?
I haven't thought about that scenario, but we got sort of they give you a little briefing before a big presidential speech, and so the reporting that came out of that and yesterday's White House briefing sort of waved us away from anything like that. I thought, and I'm going to talk about it later, it was a nothing burger speech. I mean, what was the purpose of that speech? To make him feel better. And by the way, Oval Office addresses are not supposed to be overtly political. They're supposed to be reserved for those times where you're talking about things that are of national importance, and you use them sparingly. You don't use them to trash your opponent. And although Trump wasn't mentioned by name, there were a lot of shots across Trump's bow from the Oval Office last night, and I find that reprehensible. But I'll talk about that more coming up, so hang around. Richie in Nashville, you're up next on the Drive. What do you say?
Hey, it's awesome to get to holler at you. I've been a long-time listener, even back in the days with Phil Valentine. God rest his soul. And I was wondering, what is the legality as far as it concerns for the Democrats to allow somebody to be chosen instead of picked in legally the way with the primary, and for them just to choose? I mean, is there a law about it?
Well, there have been some talk about Republicans filing lawsuits against the Democrats for the way they have conducted this. I'm not real sure where that would land or how much the substance there would be to such a lawsuit. I will say this. Isn't it interesting that the Democrats claim to be, oh, yes, we're the party of inclusion. We believe in the democratic process. And then they do this and they basically disengage or disallow the votes of 14 million people who voted for Joe Biden, and just unilaterally through, in sort of a smoky backroom way, they anoint and crown Kamala as the nominee. And nobody voted for her. She didn't get one vote when she was running for president. She couldn't even make it to the first set of primaries before she washed out. She gets chosen as the vice presidential running mate, but she's never stood for a national election on her own. And I don't think that the American people are going to like her once they get to know her better, and they will get to know her better over the coming days. I can assure you that. But I'm not sure about the legality of it all. I'm not a lawyer, but I am interested to see if any lawsuits are brought.
I mean, how is if they choose the vice president and they don't even vote on that? I mean, how is that even going to change?
She gets to choose her running mate, that's for sure, and that's going to be an interesting thing to watch in the days ahead. Richie, thank you for the call. Kim in Winchester, you're on with Brian on the Drive. What's on your mind today, Kim?
Hi, Brian. I'm really fired up about this burning of the American flag. It really pisses me off that the lawmakers, I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican, we're all dadgum Americans, and you should be respecting the flag. And so why do they not have, even if it's just the National Guard out there, they knew these people were coming to protest. That's why they put those blockades up in front of the White House. Why didn't they have that protected? There's more national monuments destructed with this nonsense. I think it's time to put an end to this crap.
It's interesting to me that the police will stand back and allow them to burn an American flag. And the reason for that is that it's been decided, I think at the highest levels of the Supreme Court, that is a First Amendment protected act. As much as it just, I found so distasteful. I find it's so repulsive. I don't even have the adjectives at my disposal to describe how I feel about that, but I just hate it. And just like you do, it hacks me off. But they will stand back on that. I think they do try to intervene when they can, when somebody starts to spray paint a monument like we saw yesterday. Isn't that interesting that they can spray paint a monument and they can take action? They burn an American flag. Is there not some danger in setting a fire in a public place? If nothing else, it may be an act that's protected by the Supreme Court, and the First Amendment, but it certainly is a dangerous thing because they were burning flags and they were burning Benjamin Netanyahu and effigy, the whole 9 yards, and it was really an ugly scene. There's danger in that, right? Seems like at that moment you have the ability to step in and say, we're going to start arresting people. Now, they did arrest some people, but mostly they stood back. And today the cleanup, and then I don't know if you know it or not, but some Republican senators last night went out there and raised American flags where they'd been taken down. But to see the Palestinian or the Hamas flag being flown over our nation's capital is repulsive. It really is. John in Madison, hello. What's up with you, John?
Yes, Brian. I got a question. I'd seen some report online that, and I didn't know if you'd heard anything about this, whether it was true to it or not. But there's some article going around right now that Kamala Harris has dropped out of the race because of funding issue. I didn't know if you'd heard anything about that.
No, there's nothing to that. She was just on camera getting on board a plane talking to reporters about the upcoming debate with Donald Trump. So she's still in the game. Here's what I'm going to say to you. Look, there are people out there And the Chinese have been involved in this, and the Russians have been involved in this, and there are all kinds of people out there who like to get out there and throw this stuff onto the internet to sort of roil the waters and bring, discontent in America. And, you got to be really careful about the stuff you see online. Look, even professionals like me occasionally get fooled by this stuff. So you got to be really, really careful and very, very discerning in the kinds of information you absorb, and keep your skepticism close at hand on everything. If you hear somebody say, wow, I haven't heard that anywhere else, chances are it's not true. But no, she's still in, as far as I can tell. Craig in Mount Pleasant, what do you say?
Hey, thanks for taking my call, Brian. Just a quick question. So this week is the first time I've seen anything about there being a reduction in the encounters at the border. So these 50 and 55% reductions that I'm hearing this administration talk about now, are they talking about from the point of where it reached their all-time high under their administration? Because this doesn't make sense to me.
I'll have to say I haven't crunched those numbers. I think it's disingenuous for them to talk about, hey, look how good the border is right now, when they had 3.5 years to solve the problem. So, that doesn't really matter to me. And you may have missed it, but I talked earlier how I think that what's going on there is that, the border situation is such that I think probably the cartels have come to realize that if they get a Democrat in the office, they're going to be able to continue what they've been doing. And so if they get a Republican, they know that they're not going to be able to continue what they're doing. And so what I think is that they're pretty shrewd business people. I think they decided to slow down the number of people that they help across the border because they want a Democrat to get this election, and they feel like if they keep slamming people in there, it becomes an issue that will make Republicans vote and people in the middle vote for Donald Trump because they don't like what they see. So they're trying to take the pressure off because they want to keep doing business down the line. They're very shrewd, a lot more politically shrewd than you might think. Hey, listen, I really love these conversations we're having. We'll do it again in let's call it the 5 o'clock hour. Right now, it's time for the break at 51 minutes past the hour. Hey, Beacon Capital Management wants you to know that you should take a look at your retirement assets to see if there's a way to minimize taxes. It may be hard to believe, but many hardworking Americans, just like you, could be overpaying on taxes in retirement. You can be taxed on your IRA, your 401k, and any other tax-deferred retirement account. And Beacon Capital Management has a way to give you peace of mind. With the threat of massive tax increases just around the corner, your nest egg could be in trouble unless you take advantage of defensive tax saving strategies now. Defend your hard-earned retirement savings by scheduling a free retirement tax reduction analysis today. No cost, no pressure, no obligation. If you've saved more than $250,000 for retirement, do not wait any longer. Reschedule make that a schedule, your free retirement tax reduction analysis from Beacon. Just go ahead and schedule it. Just call this number, 615-488-9303. That's 615-488-9303, or visit askbeaconnow.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Is a Trump-Harris debate on the table? We'll talk about that. Also, an escalation of tensions between the U.S. and China. And a missing Nashville tourist has been found. We'll have those stories at 4 p.m. on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
57 minutes now past the hour. Let's take a look at the markets and see how things are doing. The Dow Jones Industrial up 81. The S&P 500 is down 27. And the NASDAQ is down about 160 and change, about almost 1 percentage point. What's driving all of this? Well, let's check in with John Maxon over at Beacon Capital Management to find out more. Hello, John.
Hey, good afternoon, Brian. Yeah, pretty volatile day on the market. The market was actually up almost 1% on the S&P early in the day, and then it dropped for a 3-day drop on the NASDAQ and the S&P. To your point, the Dow was up. Got a really good GDP report today, much better than expected. GDP for second quarter was 2.8 versus 1.4 last quarter. Personal consumption down 2.9 versus 3.7 from last quarter, so that may show the consumer slowing. Really, Wall Street's starting to be a little bit concerned about some of the earnings that are coming in particular from big tech. They've been kind of lackluster. But now all eyes are going to point towards the inflation report tomorrow that the Fed's going to be looking at closely, and so will Wall Street, to determine if and when we get some rate cuts.
All right. Thank you very much, John. Find out what John Maxon and all of the good people at Beacon Capital Management can do to help you get ready for your retirement. Just go to their website, askbeaconnow.com. Coming up in just a bit, we'll talk about the latest in the follow-up investigation into the assassination attempt on Donald Trump and 2 examples of Trump derangement syndrome that have emerged in the news. It's all straight ahead right here on Super Talk 99.7. USS has been around since 1994, so they've been around some 30 years with more than 25,000 satisfied residential customers. And look, what they do is they will fix your foundation issues. And we've had just exactly the right kind of weather. We had a very wet spring, and it's been a pretty dry summer so far. And those 2 things can actually lead to foundation issues. Are your bricks cracking, your walls bowing, your doors or windows sticking, your drywall separating, stair-step cracks and masonry mortar joint, chimneys that tilt or lean? Call the folks at US, have them come out, and they will make sure to put things back in good order. If you have concrete that has sunken, or is you got like porch steps that are tilted, or sidewalks that have shifted, why don't you call them and have them take a look at whether or not they can apply the USS Polylift system? It will put things back level and plumb just like they're supposed to be. You can walk on it immediately and drive on it in 30 minutes. It takes only a few hours to do this, and your sidewalks and your concrete will be just back where they need to be. Don't replace it, raise it. It's actually cheaper to fix it than it is to replace it. 615-488-7855. Learn more at USSTN.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number 1, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number 2, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Good afternoon. It's 2 minutes past 4 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Mostly cloudy. We are at 86 degrees. Weather forecast and a traffic report coming up in just a few minutes. Vice President Kamala Harris, now the presumptive Democratic nominee, says she's ready for a face-off with Donald Trump on the debate stage. ABC's White House correspondent Karen Travers has the latest.
Vice President Harris is pushing for a September debate against Donald Trump, saying Americans deserve to see the split screen that exists in this race on a debate stage.
And I'll tell you, I'm ready to debate Donald Trump. I have agreed to the previously agreed upon September 10th debate. He agreed to that previously. Now it appears he's backpedaling, but I'm ready.
Trump says he's committed to a debate, saying it's important, and suggested he would even be open to more than one.
On the international scene now, an escalation of tensions between the U.S. and China. The U.S. military investigating after Russian and Chinese bombers were intercepted off the coast of Alaska. ABC's Luis Martinez has more.
We heard from Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin telling us that they did not get any closer than 200 miles off the Alaska coastline. Remember, it's 12 miles to enter territorial airspace. So, in other words, not close at all. But it's unprecedented, and Austin made the point that the United States monitored and tracked and followed these aircraft all the way through.
Back in Music City, a Metro detective says a tourist is lucky to be alive. 33-year-old Ali Chamel emerged on her own, soaking wet and barefoot several hours after she was last seen along the riverfront at First and Woodland Street.
I think it's truly a miracle that she was fine because, like I said, she climbed herself right up. We don't even know how far she went down into the river, but I just look at it as she was blessed. Quite honestly, it's extremely rare. In my personal experience, I've never seen that before. Not to say it hasn't happened, but I would say it's extremely rare.
The tourist was visiting from New Jersey, and she told police she has no clue how she ended up in the river. She's reportedly going to be okay. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. 2 hours into the show now. This is the beginning of the second hour right here on Super Talk 99.7. You're listening to The Drive. I am Brian Wilson on the air until 7, bringing you news and information you could use. Look, I mean, I'm telling you, if you need good news, information, and analysis, this is the time to be tuning in. Because, I mean, between now and November 5th and even after, it's going to be, very important to keep yourself informed about what's going on in the world around you. Things are in high, what do I say, this sort of high gear. Things are moving quickly. They are. I want to talk for the next few minutes about the ongoing investigation into the assassination attempt on Donald Trump. There's a lot of stuff that it keeps dripping into the news cycle that keeps this story very interesting. This story from Newsmax. Hawley, this is Josh Hawley, Republican senator from Missouri. The Secret Service refused offers to use drones at former President Donald Trump's rally in Pennsylvania before the failed assassination attempt there, a whistleblower told Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri. Then Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle told House members Monday that she was awaiting an investigation to determine whether the service did use drones to help secure the rally site in Butler, Pennsylvania. But a whistleblower tells law enforcement partners and suppliers offered the drones to the Secret Service before the rally, but Secret Service declined. Hawley posted this on X with an image of a letter he sent to Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. While it appears Secret Service did not rely on drones to help secure the site, Christopher Wray told the House Judiciary Committee on Wednesday that the alleged shooter flew his drone around the venue 2 hours before the opening. Wow. 2 hours before he leveled shots against Donald Trump, he was flying a drone to scope out the area. So, the shooter used a drone, which, by the way, everybody said, where to get the money for a drone? Well, they're not that expensive anymore. I mean, they probably start about $300 and go up from there, depending on how sophisticated you want. I mean, I've got one. I think I spent $6. So, they're not that expensive as things go. So he has a drone and he's using it, but the Secret Service had an opportunity to use their drone, had an opportunity to use the drone of the local officials, and they declined that opportunity. If there had been aerial coverage, they would have seen things. Perhaps. Trump gunman likely had a Gab account that he used to support President Biden's site, the CEO of Gab.com says. I don't know about Gab. Do you know about Gab? Have you ever heard about Gab?
Never heard of that.
All right. Well, let me see what I can find out here. The gunman who tried to assassinate former President Donald Trump appears to have used the controversial, I don't know that this is true, but they say alt-right favored social media platform Gab to spread messages in support of President Biden. Gab CEO Andrew Torba said he learned Wednesday that Thomas Matthew Crooks may have had an account on our platform after getting an emergency disclosure request from a law enforcement agency. The account at Epic Microwave, which the CEO stress he's been unable to confirm was definitely Crooks, posted on the site 9 times total. Well, if law enforcement asked for him to have the information, they believe it is. And they have access to his phone, so I think there's probably it. He was Torba tweeted just 30 minutes before getting the law enforcement request. Okay. While the account made very few posts on the site, the majority of them were in support of President Biden, said the CEO of the platform, launched in 2016 as a completely free speech alternative to Twitter. A number of posts in particular expressed support for President Biden's COVID lockdown, border policies, and executive orders. Torba shared images of pro-Biden comments made by the account with its handle blacked out. And one poster mocked someone sharing an election projection, writing in February, "Didn't you also think Biden would lose in a landslide? Yeah, I would not be very confident in your election predictions." So he's out there trolling, apparently, it appears, and posting stuff on the alt-right Gab.com that were pro-Biden. All right, just saying. We'll see. This, and by the way, I'm going to admit to you that there's some fuzziness about what has been said about these overseas accounts. I think they're not talking, as best I can determine it, and I got to tell you, I'm not completely clear on this myself, but it seems that they're not talking about financial accounts, bank accounts. If I'm wrong on that, then I'll stand corrected. But it appears they're not talking about overseas bank accounts, but overseas communication app accounts. Like, for example, WhatsApp. It's not based in the U.S. at all. It's based, I think, in China. But, I mean, he may have had some of those kinds of accounts. We'll find out more as we go forward. Bipartisan House committee has formed what you call a select committee to investigate the assassination attempt to Donald Trump. They voted overwhelmingly last night to establish a bipartisan task force to investigate the attempted assassination. House Speaker Mike Johnson and Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries announced the panel earlier this week, said it will have full investigative authority of the House, including subpoena power. It will be composed of 7 Republicans and 6 Democrats, chosen by Johnson and Jeffries, who have not yet announced their selection. Now, I hope that they put smart people here. I hope they don't put dumb butts in this thing, because, I mean, I'm telling you, watching that hearing yesterday with the FBI director, where he was providing information. If you asked the question, you got an answer. Nobody was asking the right questions because, it's a bipartisan problem. There's a lot of dumb people on that committee. Dumb. Hank Johnson was there, but he wasn't the only dumb one. There were some Republicans that asked some doozies. So, I hope that they put really, really smart people there who are, up to the task of trying to get to the truth. And I hope that they will continue to investigate this. The difference between, this and, let's say, the assassination of JFK is there's one huge difference. With JFK, all we had was the Zapruder film. At this assassination attempt, we had 10,000 cell phones with cameras. So it's a very different situation. So it's very more difficult for there to be, things thrown out there that simply aren't true, because there's going to be a cell phone video that will tell you what really happened. The camera does not blink. All right. So there we have it. I'm glad to see that happen. I'm glad to see this committee underway, and I hope that they can solve the problem. Body cam video has been released, more of it from Charles Grassley. Brian Yennis with Fox was going through some of that last night.
It's a remote control device. It is gray in color, about 5-6 inches tall.
Officers responding, concerned about whether there's an active device.
The potential explosive device on the gas meter until the FBI to hurry.
The video also confirms accounts of pictures of Crooks and his possessions being shared with the Secret Service before the shooting.
So this is the guy
Yes, Beaver County Sniper Scene and sent the pictures out. This is him.
These videos given to Fox were exclusively obtained by Senator Chuck Grassley's office from the Beaver County Emergency Services Unit in compliance with congressional requests. According to testimony from FBI Director Christopher Wray, no one saw Crooks with the weapon before he got on that rooftop. He had a collapsible stock on his gun, which made it easier to hide. He flew a drone 200 yards away from the stage just 2 hours before the rally, and they found 2 explosive devices that were, quote, relatively crude in his vehicle, another one at his home with the ability to detonate remotely.
And by the way, the video shows the arriving officers counting the number of cartridges on the roof, and you hear them count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 shots from that guy. So, all the shots are accounted for. 8 shots from the shooter, 2 from the counter snipers, 1 that missed and 1 that hit. Just saying. This is troubling. It seems like we're getting an awful lot of cases of Trump derangement syndrome, including this story from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, where an ATV driver went out there on a rampage and among other things, ran down an 80-year-old Donald Trump supporter.
The hit and run was at a residence on Anthony Street at roughly 5:45 in the afternoon. An 80-year-old resident was setting up a Donald Trump support signs in his yard. According to the police, the driver had pulled out the signs, and when the resident tried to put them back, the driver came back into the yard and ran the resident over. The resident is now at Portage Health in critical condition.
We're not sure what could happen. Could he die from these injuries?
Well, what happened was the guy finally called police and turned himself in, and when they got there, he had shot and killed himself. That's how that ended. And in Nashville, Secret Service notified after man says Trump needs to die at a police following an interaction with police. Man is accused of throwing chairs from a hotel balcony in downtown Nashville. What is it about chairs off balconies? Also ranting about political figures. According to the Metro Nashville Police Department, an officer with MNPD said he was driving by the JW Marriott on 8th Avenue around 5:50 a.m. Wednesday, flagged down by an employee. The employee told the officer that Jack Campitelli, age 58, had vandalized the property. According to the arrest report, the employee told the officer that they asked Campitelli to leave the property, but he refused while throwing at least 2 chairs from the balcony onto the sidewalk. The arresting officer said he viewed security video showing Campitelli throwing the chairs, and they arrested him. The arrest report states that a second officer arrived to help. Both officers approached Campitelli, stating he ranted about Trump and other political figures. While in booking, the officer stated that Campitelli yelled, "Trump needs to die because he's a liar." The officer says the Secret Service has been notified. People are losing their minds out there. It's a very tense time, and these people who have the Trump derangement syndrome. I think we need to be on high guard, and I certainly hope that following the assassination attempt of Donald Trump, that the Secret Service has upped their game. I sure hope that way, because there seems like there's an awful lot of angry and demented people out there who have a bad case of Trump derangement syndrome. 20 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock. All right, let the team at Restoration Wellness help you achieve your summer weight loss goals. They're the leader in weight loss management in Wilson County. Here's the number you call to get in touch with the Restoration Wellness team, 615-470-8124. Visit them at their website, restorationwellnessmedspa.com, to book a consultation today. Now, I am a customer. I am a client. They have been working with me, and each and every day, I have good news when I get on the scale. Yesterday, I told you I've lost 25 pounds. That's no longer true. I've lost 26. I mean, every day I get on the scale and I get a little bit of good news, and it's been an absolutely painless process. And the best part of it is I'm losing weight, I'm feeling great, and I'm not hungry. What a deal. My friends Carly and Jamie will take good care of you. Be a part of the 1,000 patients who've already seen life-changing results from the weight loss management program. Customizable treatment plans are available. It is not one size fits all. Restoration Wellness considers your needs, lifestyle, and goals. So whether your goal is to lose stubborn body fat or improve your overall health, Restoration Wellness has a solution for you. Learn more at restorationwellnessmedspa.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
A one-on-one meeting at the White House today between the Israeli Prime Minister and President Joe Biden. We'll have that report. We'll also have today's closing money news. Those stories at 4:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, it is 25 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in the chair. Listen, so glad that you're here. Okay, I have some, well, I'd have to consider bad news. Southwest Airlines is ditching open seating on its flights. Say it isn't so.
Executives at Southwest Airlines say they're still working on a timeline of when Southwest's around 800 planes will have extra legroom seats installed and when assigned seating will begin, but they say customer preferences have changed and it's clear it's time for Southwest to adapt. CEO Bob Jordan.
Our teams have been hard at work evaluating fundamental changes to our seating, cabin, and boarding procedures.
He says her research shows 80% of Southwest customers want assigned seating and nearly 90% of their non-customers want it. Alex Stone, EBC News.
I do not believe that last statistic. I do not believe that last statistic. 80% of their existing customers want it to change, and 90% want it to change. I'm gonna have to call on that because I just don't believe it.
I don't either.
I have been. I hate this. I mean, leave it alone. It ain't broke. Don't fix it. I mean, I know why they're doing it. There's another story out there. Southwest profits fall 46% as airline takes urgent steps to increase revenue. They've got to increase their revenue. They're making money, but they're not making enough money. And so they've been putting this off. And it's one of the things I love about Southwest is, if you know how to work the system, you can end up with what I call Southwest First Class, which is basically, if you know how to game the system, you can end up on a bulkhead seat or even better on an exit row, and you get a little extra leg room. And, so look, you want to be in the first boarding party, the first 25 or so. So if you get up, when you're supposed to check in, you check in right on time. Yep. And usually you get in the A group in the first few seats. And that gives you a very good chance of getting to sit in the bulkhead seat or in one of the exit row seats where you get a little extra leg room. Doesn't cost you a penny more. If you check in a little late and you got like a B, C, or D number, I guess it only goes to C. I can't remember. Maybe it goes to D. But, I mean, if it goes to C and you're way back in the back of the lineup, well, then what you do is you go and you pay about $30 and they will upgrade you to put you in the first 5. For $30 you can solve your problem.
I didn't know that you could do that.
That was you can ask to be upgraded to A1 through I think it's 15. And usually there's only a handful of people in the A. There may be one, two. You may be A6 or A7 if you do that most times. So I always try to get in there on my own for cheap, and if I miss it, I'm willing to pay the $30 to have more leg room and not die on the way to wherever I'm going, with some kind of blood clot in the legs or something. So, there's a way to work it. Now what they're talking about is, well, we're going to charge you more for the exit row. We're going to charge you more for the bulkhead seats. We're going to set up, but we're going to take out a few seats so we can have, a few rows there where they have more leg room, but you're going to have to pay for it. The next thing will be, I know what's coming, is that, you're no longer going to have 2 bags for free.
Well,
if they do away with that,
a lot of people will be looking for another option.
I'm going to be looking at my options now. I mean, honestly, I have been flying Southwest Airlines since they were a regional airline in Texas. They're 53 years old. When I started flying on Southwest Airlines, the flight attendants dressed like Hooter waitresses.
That's true. I looked it up. I remember
It's true. I mean, they had on the shorts and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, that's how long I've been flying Southwest Airlines. And I love the airlines. I rarely fly anything else unless there's just no other option. And I'm really irritated that they're messing with, tradition here. And I don't believe Southwest Airlines when they say that 80% of their passengers want this.
Yeah, no way.
There ain't no way. And what I'm reading on the internet today and the reaction to this, I think they're getting that message. So Say it isn't so, Southwest Airlines. Say it isn't so. 30 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock. Time for the news.
Good afternoon. Yep, it's 4:30, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Mostly cloudy, 86 degrees. A forecast and a traffic update are coming in a few minutes. Israel's leader meets with President Joe Biden today at the White House as the war in Gaza continues. ABC's Zoreen Shath is reporting.
As pro-Palestinian protesters marched near the White House, President Biden met with Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu in the Oval Office.
Well, welcome back, Mr. Prime Minister. We got a lot to talk about.
It was a cordial greeting between the two leaders, despite recent tensions over how Israel is conducting its war against Hamas and efforts to secure the release of hostages. Netanyahu meeting separately with Vice President Harris.
And the Prime Minister also meeting with former President Trump in Washington. We now turn to today's money news. It's the closing news with Daria Albinger.
From ABC News, Wall Street now. The markets steadied themselves a day after historic losses. The Dow closed up 81 points, while the S&P gave up 28 and the Nasdaq fell 161. Most stocks climbed, although big tech continued to fall. We are heading into a volatile time for the markets if we aren't already there. Analysts say earnings, economic reports, and geopolitical concerns are all likely to impact stocks from now through at least the election. That said, the nation's economy sped up last quarter to a strong 2.8 annual pace, with consumers and businesses helping to drive the growth despite persistent interest rates. The gross domestic product picked up from April to June from the 1.4% pace in the first quarter. The latest numbers reinforce confidence among economists that the U.S. economy is on the verge of achieving that rare soft landing, where high interest rates tame inflation without sending the economy into a recession.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are on the way. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Let me tell you about the folks over at Wellness Institute of Nashville. They want you to know that there are no magic solutions here, no pills or creams that can magically fix your aching back. If you have an aching back and a real problem with your back, it's largely because of pressure on your nerves. And the spinal creams and the pills really don't solve the problem. You have two choices. One is surgery. The other is to investigate something less invasive. In fact, they call it non-invasive, a non-surgical spinal decompression. Now, I chose this method, non-surgical spinal decompression, at the Wellness Institute of Nashville, and it has helped me. Their state-of-the-art facilities have the latest high-tech equipment and offer the latest procedures in non-surgical spinal decompression. Getting better is important, so Dr. Kevin Mitchell and Dr. Ashley are offering a special half-off spinal decompression treatment and half-off the KT knee machine, which is like spinal decompression for the knee. Works in sort of the same way. If you're a new patient, here's here's what you get. Now, you come in, you'll get an exam. They'll take an x-ray if they need one to find out what's going on. You'll have a consultation with the docs, and you'll receive your first treatment and a plan to go forward. All of that, $23. So $23 for your first appointment, and then after that, half off the cost of spinal decompression treatments. I'm Brian Wilson. I put my stamp of approval on the Wellness Institute of Nashville. So call them today at 615-246-5009. Learn more at painisbad.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
It's 38 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in the chair. We need to talk about Joe Biden. He's you're going to hear that a lot because every time we talk about him, we have to point out he is now a feckless lame duck, an angry mallard. If you're not familiar with the term, a lame duck politician is a politician who has announced they're not running for re-election, but in that period between the time they make that announcement and the time that they actually leave office, they are lame ducks, which means they have very little power. Very little power. And I think that's important to note. I think Calvin Coolidge was the first time we heard somebody in politics referred to as a lame duck politician. But he certainly qualifies for that. And so this lame duck politician last night gave a speech from the Oval Office. I was disappointed in the speech in a lot of ways because traditionally speeches that are given from the Oval Office are not supposed to be overtly political in nature. The Oval Office is sort of a sacred ground for these kinds of speeches, and they should come at times of national import. Imagine, think Reagan after the Challenger disaster, or Bush following 9/11. Those kinds of things are where serious announcements, but not political announcements. And he could have made this just I'm stepping aside and I wanted you to know why kind of speech, but he took his shots. Oh, they were veiled references, but they were there all along. And he says he's decided that, well, after a lot of contemplation and after denying more that he was going to leave office, he explained why he was leaving office.
I revere this office, but I love my country more. It's been the honor of my life to serve as your president. But in the defense of democracy, which is at stake, I think it's more important than any title. So I've decided the best way forward is to pass the torch to a new generation. It's the best way to unite our nation. There is a time and a place for long years of experience in public life. There's also a time and a place for new voices, fresh voices, yes, younger voices. And that time and place is now.
Now. He was very emphatic with that. That he didn't really, it was not much of it. As far as I was concerned, it was a nothing burger of a speech. I don't even know why we bothered. Why did we interrupt all of our television programming for that? He didn't say anything other than, I've done, he told us what we already knew. What I wanted to know is why you made the decision. What led you to make it? What kind of things were going on behind the scenes? He's never going to share that, although today there was some hint that there's more to the story that Biden may be willing to share at another time. He also, in this speech, decided to talk about what he wants to accomplish in the next 6 months.
I'm going to keep speaking out to protect our kids from gun violence. Our planet from climate crisis is the existential threat. And I will keep fighting for my cancer moonshot so we can end cancer as we know it, because we can do it. I'm going to call for Supreme Court reform because this is critical to our democracy, Supreme Court reform. I will keep working to ensure America remains strong, secure, and the leader of the free world.
Well, America is none of those things right now. We are not strong, we are not secure, and we're not the leader of the free world. Largely because of his leadership, or lack thereof, really. This thing about the Supreme Court. Now, let's talk about that.
I'm going to call for Supreme Court reform because this is critical to our democracy, Supreme Court reform.
That's going nowhere. Why? Because, well, he's, as I previously mentioned, he's a lame duck. Is that going to get old?
I like it. So
I like it too.
Keep quacking.
Joe Biden, the lame duck. No, I mean, this going nowhere. And this is the thing that I want to tell you, that when you become a lame duck, it is essentially impossible to pass anything of significance, short of one scenario. If there's a national emergency and a real bipartisan recognition of a need for some piece of legislation, yes. But other than that, if you got an initiative over at the White House, it ain't going anywhere. It's not moving. And there's zero chance that he's going to get the Supreme Court reform. Because it's just the Democrats will push for it, but the Republicans will never allow it. And Republicans control the House and Democrats control the Senate. So let's just put it this way. Anything that Biden and the Democrats want, the Republicans over in the House are going to shoot down. They don't have much of a margin, but they got enough. And they'll shoot it down, and they'll shoot it down, and they'll shoot it down. It ain't going nowhere. They don't even have to pick it up and do anything with it. It's not going to happen. And conversely, if the Republicans have something they really want to accomplish, it's not going anywhere because the Democrats are going to shoot it down. They don't want to give anybody political advantage in the election season. I mean, that's what this silly season is all about. Each side is trying to gain political advantage over the other, and nothing moves. Nothing moves. Oh, they may do some things like name some post offices. Something like that. But I mean, real meaningful legislation is not going, anything that's controversial is going nowhere in the next 6 months. It is where the whole process grinds to a halt, and especially in a situation where you have a split House and Senate. Unless you control all three bodies, you never have any power as a lame duck, and he doesn't. The Democrats don't control all three bodies. Thank goodness. Every day I pray for the health of the Republican caucus in the House of Representatives, because I'm telling you, we will be in a real mess if we lose that, if we lose our ability to stop the silliness that the Democrats would try to put on us. And that's why these elections are so important. You know, what we need to do in the next election is win the White House, win back the Senate, hold on to the House, and then be disciplined enough to actually accomplish things that are meaningful to the American people, that will help the American people, and not just get greedy and try to bring a bunch of stuff home, to your home district. We've got to get past the spending. You know, that's what happens. We get in power and then we get all, hey, look, we can finally do that thing we wanted to do for so long. And they get greedy and they get carried away with their spending. And we've never been disciplined about that. We've got to be disciplined about that going forward. So, I mean, this whole speech, nothing burger. It was 11 minutes of wasted time. I'm sorry I even invested a moment in listening to it because it was nothing. It was sound and fury, which signifies absolutely nothing. And don't worry, because, gun control, it ain't going to happen. Trying to expand the number of Supreme Court justices, it ain't going to happen. It's just not going to happen. Forget it. It ain't going to happen. So there. And there are still questions being asked at the White House. And by the way, about the only one asking these questions in a legitimate way is that nice Peter Doocy, who, he gets in there and he starts asking questions that nobody else will ask of Karine Jean-Pierre. Oh, they start out nice enough, but it very quickly turns ugly.
I'm doing okay, thank you.
I haven't seen you in a while.
Well, you guys haven't had a press briefing since President Biden dropped out of the race. So
the president hasn't been here. He just got here yesterday. And now I'm here taking your questions.
Thank you.
And I've taken about 3 or 4 at this point from you alone.
Well, it would seem that people in this White House knew that President Biden was slipping. And it was hidden from the American people. So who ordered White House officials to cover up a declining president?
I know that that is a narrative that you love, and wait,
10 days,
hold on.
he did a press conference at NATO. I'm in it. There's all these things that I need to finish, and then 10 days later, I'm dropping out.
Okay, okay, you're asking me like multiple questions here. Let me wait. First of all, there's been no cover-up. I want to be very clear about that. I know that's the narrative that you all want. Wait, no, you can't. Okay.
I've been with President Biden for 5 years.
Are you going to let me answer the question?
Would you at least admit that the debate was not just a bad match?
Wait, can I answer the question?
Yes.
All right. Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay. To your first question, it is not a cover-up. I know that is the narrative that you all want. It is not. I'm going to say this again, and you're going to hear directly from the president. I hope you listen tonight. I think it's going to be incredibly powerful and important. The Oval Office, presidents, as you know, when they make speeches from the Oval Office, it's because there are important moments that they want to directly make sure that the American people hear from them. And it's
well, I mean, you ever notice how when Karine is talking to Peter Doocy that she's pounding the table, which is irritating, messes up the sound. But I mean, she really, I think they get along. But I think she's very frustrated sometimes by the kinds of questions that Peter Doocy asks, and Peter Doocy is asking the question that's on the mind of so many Americans. And, she tries to paint it as, well, I know that's the narrative that you want. No, that's what it looks like. So, I really like Peter Doocy. I think he's a great correspondent. I think that, I knew him a little when I left Fox. He was just coming in, and I found him to be a guy who understood at the time when he was first coming in that he had gotten a wonderful opportunity, mainly because of his last name. Let's be honest about it. He got a wonderful opportunity to come to Washington and be a reporter, but he earned his stripes. And he really got out there and was a good student of trying to learn how to report in Washington. And he's done very well for himself. And I think the world of Peter Doocy. And by the way, as a matter of fact, I like his dad as well, pretty much. I've never told this story, but when I first got to Washington, Steve Doocy worked at my competing station, Channel 4. I was at Channel 5. She was at Channel 4. He was at Channel 4. And his thing was he did lighthearted features.
Really?
And they were phenomenal. Huh. They were so good. And they were humorous and funny. And he didn't do hard news at all. And he wasn't really an anchor. And he would go out and I'm telling you, we would watch their 6 o'clock newscast because we didn't go on until 10 back in the day. We only had one newscast. It was at 10 o'clock. They were on at 6. And if Steve Doocy had a feature, the Fox, Channel 5 Fox newsroom would come completely quiet. And everybody would huddle around to watch the Steve Doocy feature. He was so good in that role. And he had such a lovely light touch, very humorous way, they were always just the gems of great television gems. And he gathered more local Emmys than you can shake a stick at doing those features because he was so dang good at it. Then he went on to do a morning show, I think, for a little while, and then he did a kids show for a while. Then he ended up as the host of Fox and Friends, where he's been there since the beginning. He's had a long, successful run and a great career. And I just think the world of his talent. For a while, I worked alongside of him. He did a kiddie show, and it was produced out of the station in which I worked, Channel 5. So I got to hang around with him a little bit there. Good guy. The Doocy's are good people. 51 past the hour. Hey, did you know that gold is up 78% over the last 5 years, silver up 99% in the same time period? Meanwhile, the U.S. dollar has lost 25% of its value since 2020. The government-induced inflation is stealing your wealth, and it doesn't seem that Washington, D.C. has any plans to stop. Now, gold and other precious metals can be a great shield against that inflation theft. During an election year, the politicians will promise you that they'll rein in their spending, but you know how it is. That's campaign talk. They can't stop, and they know it. That's why no matter who is in office, you need to think about gold. Gold protects you from the D.C. spending sprees. Where do you get that protection? Well, reach out to my friends Kyle and Hannah at Nashville Gold and Coin. They will take great care of you and keep you informed on all precious metal opportunities. Please act now and get your shield against out-of-control government spending. Go to NashvilleGoldandCoin.com. That's NashvilleGoldandCoin.com and set up your appointment today.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Busy bee when you need heat or a cold AC. And right now, let's be honest with you, what you need is that cold blowing air conditioning. You really need that when it gets to be as hot as that has been this summer. Maybe you got a problem. Maybe it's not blowing cold air. Maybe you need some help. Why don't you call that number, 615-775-7833. They'll buzz right over to your house and get you up and running in very quick order. Right now, during the month of July, if you get work done, they will waive their $89 dispatch fee. They got other things going on in the month of July. If you need a new unit, a new AC unit, you can qualify to enter to win a free 3-day beach vacation to Savannah, Georgia, valued at $3,000. They'll take care of gas, lodging, and 2 meals a day, and they'll announce the winner on Facebook Live. Now, this only applies to people who purchase a new AC unit in the month of July, and there's only one winner. There's a lot of other things going on. If you want to be a member of the Beehive Club, and I think you should be, so that you know what that's all about. I've talked about that so many times. But if you sign up in the month of July, you can give a free yearly Beehive membership to someone in your neighborhood. The free membership must go to a family in the neighborhood where you live. Big projects, HVAC, you can get 0% for 18 months with approved credit. Plumbing, you can get 0% for 72 months for a big project with approved credit. Your official Rude Pro partner, 615-775-7833. Learn more at busybhvac.com.
Good afternoon. It is 1 minute past 5 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Mostly cloudy, 85 degrees on Music Row. A weather forecast and a traffic report are coming up in a couple of minutes. Days after moving to the top of the Democratic ticket in the presidential election, Vice President Kamala Harris met with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu today. ABC's Zoreen Shah, she's in Washington, and says it could mean a shift in policy from the Biden administration toward Israel.
With Vice President Harris absent from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's address to Congress, all eyes are how she could break from President Biden's policies. She has suggested in recent months that she could take a tougher approach with Israel's war with Hamas. She has spoken up for innocent Palestinians killed and said young people protesting the war are showing what human emotion should be, even though she absolutely rejects some statements. She understands the emotion.
A Nebraska archbishop. He's among those accused of sexually abusing children in a lawsuit that was filed in Missouri. Here's Brian Clark with ABC News.
Omaha Archbishop George Lucas said he categorically denies allegations that he sexually abused an unnamed boy at St. Louis Preparatory Seminary in the 1980s. That lawsuit was one of 5 filed by 60 people in Missouri, alleging abuse at the hands of clergy, including priests and nuns. 56 abusers were named in total 5 years after the Archdiocese of St. Louis released the names of 61 clergy that were facing what it called substantiated allegations of sexual abuse.
And just a reminder that Tennessee's traditional sales tax holiday on clothing, school supplies, and computers begins at 1 minute past midnight tonight, or I guess you could say tomorrow morning, and ends at 11:59 p.m. on Sunday. During this time, clothing, school supplies, computers can be purchased tax-free. Certain restrictions apply, though. Items sold online are also eligible. Items must be purchased for personal use, not for business or trade. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionality, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Seven minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock. Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in the chair. Okay, listen, man, we got a lot of ground to cover, and this is going to be an action-packed hour. So, draw close to the radio. Warm your hands over the warm glow of the radio tubes. If only
I don't think they have tubes anymore.
Only if they had tubes. Oh, those old tube radios sounded great, didn't they? Well, anyway, we're going to be covering a lot of ground here today with regard to the election. I think we're going to be doing 2 rounds of Election 24 every day, all the way up till November 5th. So, look, you've got to stay tuned. Things change in around here so quickly. And we're dialed into it in a big way. And, look, I think that I don't mean to brag, but I've been covering campaigns for a while. And so I'm going to make sure that you are well informed every day. So make sure that you come back every day to get your election update, and you'll be on top of it. I promise you, you will. So much going on right now with regard to Kamala Harris. Now, look, I'm telling you, she's in her honeymoon phase, and all the liberal media, they are trying to build her up and make her a superstar. And yes, I think maybe over the course of the next few days, the numbers may tighten a little bit. I don't think it's anything to worry about, because I think that we're going to be introducing America to just how radical and how deeply leftist her positions are. She wants you to know, for example, if you look into her history, she will tell you time and time again that people who come across the border illegally are not criminals.
It is wrong to somehow suggest then an undocumented immigrant is a criminal. Being an undocumented immigrant is not a crime. I know what a crime looks like. An undocumented immigrant is not a criminal. 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 An undocumented immigrant is not a criminal.
You're getting a theme here.
Is not a criminal. An undocumented immigrant 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 is not a criminal, and we have to correct course in this conversation. We're not going to treat people who are undocumented across the border as criminals. That's correct.
Okay, so I think we're pretty clear on where she stands on that. Oh, she'll try to walk away from it, but remember, we have the Wayback Machine. And the GOP has produced all those meanies over at the Republican Party. They've created a little video to help you meet liberal Kamala Harris.
I am Kamala Harris. My pronouns are she and her.
You're considered the most liberal United States senator. Well, actually, the nonpartisan GovTrack has rated you as the most liberal senator.
Do you have any plans to visit the border?
We are going to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. I am in favor of saying that we're not going to treat people who are undocumented and cross the border as criminals. That's correct. That is correct.
A lot of the signs at the rally you just held were people standing there saying, abolish ICE.
Yeah.
Is that a position that you agree with?
We need to probably think about starting from scratch.
So you support giving universal health care, Medicare for all people who are in this country illegally?
I am opposed to any policy that would deny in our country any human being public health, period.
Are you for defunding the police?
How are you defining defund the police? It's actually wrong and backward to think that more police officers will create more safety. We need to get rid of money bail.
Convicted, in prison, like the Boston Marathon bomber, on death row, people who are convicted of sexual assault, they should be able to vote?
I think we should have that conversation. I am prepared to get rid of the filibuster to pass a Green New Deal. I have always supported Medicare for all. I was very happy to sign on to Bernie's bill, and I give Bernie, frankly, a lot of credit. There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking.
Do you ban plastic straws?
I think we should.
And she cackles a lot. You notice lately she hadn't been cackling? I think there's a cackle ban.
I don't think she can help herself, though. It'll happen.
I think that will be rare, but I think it's going to be rare. I think they told her, dial it in a little bit, hon. You look like a braying donkey when you laugh. And she does. She really does. And that cackle, I guarantee you, I promise you, they have done focus groups on that. And they've gotten, a pretty bad, well, I wish she wouldn't do that. She looks really ridiculous when she cackles. I got my buttons too, man. Right over here. I don't think she's going to be doing a lot of that. I mean, honestly, I think that they have told her, quit the cackling, quit laughing, look more like presidential. You don't have to be everybody's friend. You got to look presidential. And so I noticed she's coming out. She's reading the speeches off the teleprompter. She's leaving the stage. There's not a lot of things. It's all pretty much dialed in. And she understands that she's got to sort of change the way she operates. Trump, says, well, I'd like to be nice, but I don't know that I can be nice with her.
For 3.5 years, Lion Kamala Harris has been the ultra-liberal driving force behind every single Biden catastrophe. She is a radical left lunatic who will destroy our country. If she ever gets the chance to get into office, we're not going to let that happen. I was supposed to be nice. They say something happened to me when I got shot. I became nice. And when you're dealing with these people, they're very dangerous people. When you're dealing with them, you can't be too nice. You really can't be. So if you don't mind, I'm not going to be nice. Is that okay? want me to be nice.
No, well, it's going to get ugly. By the way, apparently discussions are now underway about that debate in September. And Kamala Harris stopped by and talked to reporters on the way up the stairs to her aircraft that she's in for a debate. She says, we're going to work out the details, and I am happy to accept the debate with Donald Trump. So, and then now they got to work out a lot of details, like who's going to do it, which channel is going to carry it, who's going to be the moderators, who's going to be asking the questions. I know the Democrats, I think Fox News is very much out there pretty much begging people to let them have one of the debates. And this is, I guess, maybe the only debate that's out there. It'll be a vice presidential debate, I assume, at some point. But, I mean, it seems like the Commission on Presidential Debates is out of this. It's going to be something that the campaigns work out on their own, like they did the last one, and I think that's probably the better way to do it. By the way, I liked the last debate. I thought it went just fine for us. Didn't you? I think it did. As far as Kamala Harris is going, the media is going to try to build her up, make her into a superstar. I mean, already that has begun. And the fix is in with the mainstream media. GovTrack, an organization that tracks congressional voting records, confirmed to Fox News Digital that it has removed a 2019 page that ranked Kamala Harris as that year's most liberal U.S. senator. They did it sometimes within the last 2 weeks. The self-described government transparency website was not being so transparent, were they? They scored Harris as the most liberal compared to all senators, even outranking Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren at the time. I mean, that was the last year she was in the Senate, and she was the most liberal Senate, something that was noted by that nice Norah O'Donnell over on 60 Minutes.
You're very different in the policies that you've supported in the past. You're considered the most liberal United States senator.
Somebody said that, and it actually was Mike Pence on the debate stage. But
yeah, well, actually, the nonpartisan GovTrack has rated you as the most liberal senator. You supported the Green New Deal. You supported Medicare for all.
In fact, she said she was in favor of getting rid of the Senate filibuster to pass the Green New Deal. Listen, folks. We need the filibuster. The filibuster is one of the great things about the United States Senate. And she's willing to just chunk it away just to get what she wants. Looking very short term, not thinking at all about the long term of all of that. Let's see, what else have I got here? Trump says Elon Musk never told me he would pledge $45 million a month to my campaign. There's some indication that maybe Elon Musk says, no, I'm not giving $45 million. I don't know what that means. Maybe he's giving $44 million, but he's saying that I'm not giving $45 million a month. I don't know where that came from. It didn't come out of thin air. I can tell you that for sure. A YouGov poll says that only 39% of independents believe Harris is qualified for the presidency. That's pretty interesting. 39% of registered independents. The findings suggest Democrat Party selection of Harris as the party's de facto nominee is one that appeals to is not one that appeals to independents. Do you think Kamala Harris is qualified to be president? 39% said yes. No said 37%. Don't know said 24%. Surprisingly, only 84% of registered Democrats said Harris was qualified, while 9% said she was not qualified. 7% said they were not sure. Kamala Harris underperforming in the youth vote. She's getting a lot of youth vote, but not as much as Biden did even. And Biden was really losing votes to Donald Trump. Look, you don't have to win the demographic to hurt them. In other words, if you pull enough away and you add it to your base, and take away from their base, it's a win. And so far, the numbers look pretty good for Donald Trump among young people. And I mean, much better than before. Just like black voters, we're not going to win the demographic, but we are pulling more away than we have in the past. And when you do that, you're eroding the base of the Democrat Party. And they're not doing anything to erode our base, believe me. So it's a one-way erosion, if you'll excuse that. Trump leads 50-43, no Harris bump. This according to the Rasmussen Report poll. says that Trump leads by 7. So a little better, apparently, but not much. Significantly, the new poll shows a massive 20-point gap among independent voters favoring Trump, 53 to 33%. It does show a slight gain in Democrat support for Harris over Biden, but that's not surprising. I got some other numbers. These numbers come from the Hill.com and Emerson. Battleground polls, you got to take attention to the battleground polls. And remember, we don't have a lot of battleground polls that look at Trump versus Harris. So Arizona, if the election held today in Arizona, Trump will win by 5 in the two-way matchup. In the 5-way matchup, he wins by 8. That's good. Arizona looking still pretty solid. Georgia, it has tightened a little bit, mainly because Georgia, I think, has many black voters. Georgia, Trump +2 in the 2-way, Trump +3 in the 5-way. Michigan has tightened. Michigan, if this poll is correct, Trump leads by 1 in the 2-way. It's a tie in the 5-way. In Wisconsin, it's a tie. Either way. So there. Again, you would say that Trump is doing okay. These numbers have tightened a little bit. I'm not too concerned about it. I really am not concerned about it because I think what you're going to find over the next few days is that there's a lot of excitement in Democrat circles about this woman. Independents may be taking a look at her, but they're going to get a real lesson in the next few days, over the next 105 days, of exactly how radical and what her positions have been, and the things that she has stood for and the things that she has supported are not at all keeping with mainstream political thought in America. And the independents, when they learn about Kamala, are not going to have any problem walking away from that person when they go to the voting booth, I predict. So just give it a little time. Her best days are now, and now that she's in the forefront of the debate, we're going to see, I think, almost certainly, a sort of a reassessment of Kamala Harris, provided by Republicans. Oh, by the way, 6 Dems joined Republicans today in a House resolution, which has no meaning, but it's just, sense of the House, condemning Vice President Harris as the border czar. 6 Democrats crossed over to vote with Republicans on that. So she doesn't have universal support, and some are really nervous about her when they're running for re-election. 22 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock now. Buying a diamond, if you're not properly educated, can be difficult. If you're not careful, you can overpay, and you don't want to do that. Small variations in a diamond's quality specs can make a huge difference in its value. That's why I always recommend Genesis Diamonds. Genesis Diamonds education, second to none. They will teach you the secrets of the industry. They will explain how diamonds are priced on the world market. Their non-commissioned experts will make you a savvy buyer, even if you decide to shop somewhere else. These days, that's so important, especially if you are considering buying a lab-grown diamond. Let Genesis reveal the truth behind this recent trend and show you all the info on how lab-growns are being overpriced in so many places. Bottom line, Genesis is your source for the best information as well as the best value, both for natural and lab-grown diamonds. Now, whether you're buying a diamond for the first time or whether you're upgrading to a large, rare, investment-grade diamond, Genesis will make sure you do not make a mistake. Genesis Diamonds, where the focus is always on honesty, transparency, education, quality, and value. Don't buy a diamond until you learn the ins and outs from Genesis, Green Hills, and Cool Springs.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
An East Nashville shooting leaves a toddler dead. And new hope for adult and pediatric patients waiting for heart transplants. We'll have those stories at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It's 26 past the hour. I'm very, very concerned about the national security posture of the United States. I mean, we look weak. Biden looks weak. And our adversaries on the world stage are looking pretty strong at the moment. Did you hear this? American and Canadian fighter jets intercepted Russian and Chinese long-range bombers operating over international waters near Alaska on the 24th of July. That was yesterday, according to the joint U.S. and Canadian Aerospace Command and the Russian military, with some reports indicating it was the first time that Chinese aircraft were intercepted near Alaska. They're flying together. The Russians and the Chinese are flying bombers near our international airspace, near Alaska, in a very provocative way. Now, Russian bombers make these runs all the time. They're looked at largely as training scenarios. But it's scary to see that Russian and the Chinese are now working in concert. And by the way, this came out just minutes before the president spoke from the Oval Office last night. The Chinese and the Russians, this is not by accident. This is a message. This is Putin, this is Xi thumbing their nose at the United States in a very ugly way. And it is very troubling to see two of our adversaries on the world stage now working in concert. Now, look, I mean, the United States military, I think, is pretty strong. I think we have superior technology. I think that has been proven by what we've seen in Ukraine. We've kept with the military equipment that has been given from the United States to Ukraine, they have kept mighty Russia at bay, and have suffered a lot of damage and degraded in a great way the Russian military. I don't know where you are on the Ukrainian war and our support of it, but that has been one of the things we've learned. The mighty Russian military ain't that mighty. But the Russians and the Chinese together, well, that would be a tough fight. That would be a tough fight. And I don't like the fact that they're acting in concert. I don't like the act that they are being so provocative. I don't like the fact that they're out there literally thumbing their nose at America and just showing them, that they don't have any respect at all for the United States. Respect comes when you have a strong president. And we don't have a strong president. We have a very weak president, and they know it. And the national security posture, I think, is not good right now. The Chinese, the Russians, the North Koreans, the Iranians, and their bad activities and their support of like Hamas and Hezbollah and the Houthi rebels and all of the trouble that they're generating around the world. This would not be happening if they had a fearful respect of the United States. And they simply don't. They simply don't. We've been using our platform here, our 100,000-watt soapbox, to sort of air out stuff, given that it's been a remarkable, 15 days or so. And there's a lot of people who have questions. A lot of people I want to talk about politics. They want to talk about the assassination attempt. And so this week I've been doing more to open up the phone lines and having those conversations. I think they've been quite interesting and quite productive. So after the news, we'll do that again. If you have a thought, you have a question, you got something on your mind with regard to the news that we've all been witnessing, 615-737-9986. Right now, time for the news.
Good afternoon. It's 5:30, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Mostly cloudy skies been this way all day. 85 degrees. The latest traffic report and a weather forecast are coming up. A toddler has died after what is currently being described as an accidental shooting. That happened in East Nashville last night, just before 9 o'clock. Metro Police report that 3-year-old Adine Pruitt suffered a gunshot wound to the head and was rushed to Vanderbilt Children's Hospital, where he was pronounced dead. Adine's mother told detectives she was in the kitchen when she heard a loud bang come from the bedroom. Aideen's father, Dondre Pruitt, then ran out of the room, fled the apartment complex with the gun, and then drove away. Detectives are looking for him. He is 23 years of age, and they would like to question him to help police understand the circumstances surrounding that deadly shooting. On the healthcare front, new hope for adult and pediatric patients waiting for heart transplants. A groundbreaking surgery took place back on July 9th, allowing doctors to insert a temporary artificial heart.
Doctors at the Texas Heart Institute, along with surgeons from Baylor Health, say they performed the first in-human artificial heart surgery. The potential life-saving procedure bypasses the human heart completely and allows patients with end-stage heart failure time to wait for a heart transplant. According to the Scientific Registry of Transplant Recipients, the number of heart transplants is on the rise in the U.S. More than 7,500 adult heart candidates are currently on the wait list.
That's ABC's Michelle Frenzen reporting. And finally, Tennessee's traditional sales tax holiday on clothing, school supplies, and computers starts tonight, or I guess I should say this morning at 12:01 a.m. It will run through 11:59 p.m. this Sunday, July 28th. During this time, you'll be able to buy clothing, school supplies, and computers tax-free. Well, there are certain restrictions with that. There are dollar limits to the items and such. You can go to tn.gov and find a lot of those restrictions. Items sold online are also eligible. Items must be purchased for personal use, not for business or for trade if you're trying to sell stuff. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
If you're in the market for a pole barn, the two brothers that run Stoltz Co., two guys you got to talk to. Exceptional quality craftsmanship and fair prices. They can build your pole barn to your specifications with your needs in mind, and that is the Stoltz Co. difference. You can use pole barns for all kinds of things. It can function as a classic tool and work barn, a garage, even a place to live. That's called a barn dominium, and they're awesome. Flexibility is key. They take the classic front barn look, and they use the reliability of modern materials and techniques to give you a finished barn that will stand the test of time. They don't scrimp on quality. They don't cut corners. They believe their customers deserve only the best. So listen, do me a favor. Go to the website, stoltzco.com, STOLTZCO.com. Take a look at what they got going on there, and then you're going to understand what I'm talking about. You'll see some examples. Then call this number, 615-622-5992. Stoltz Co. is where quality workmanship and great customer service is affordable. You can call this number, 615-622-5992, or go to their website, stoltzco.com. That's stoltzco.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
38 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock. Brian Wilson in the chair. Hey, listen, how you doing out there? Look, over the last 10, 15 days, we've just had a remarkable spate of news. It's been life-changing stuff. So maybe you have a question about the assassination attempt investigation and where we stand on that. Maybe you have some comment about the politics of the day with Biden stepping aside and now Kamala Harris in the lead. Maybe you just, you have heard something that you've heard me say that you feel like, Wilson's a bonehead. That's okay. We can have those conversations. We can all be polite about that, right? 615-737-9986. Think of it as a Phone Your Farb Friday on a Thursday. That's sort of where we are, because I think there's real value in having a conversation right now. Have some phone lines open, 615-737-9986. But let's start with Rick at Thompson Station. Rick, hello. You're on with Brian on the Drive.
Hey, good afternoon. Enjoying your show today. I've got, a statement just with an average layman, from an average layman's common sense point of view. I counted hundreds of mistakes that were made by the Secret Service, but there were 26 of them by my count. And like I said, it's a layman's view, but by my count, there were 26 mistakes made that if any one of those things had been done correctly,
I know
the shooter would have never gotten a shot off.
Yeah.
So that begs the question. Either Trump had the absolute most inept advanced team and the most inept day of show team in the whole world, and this, you understand, this is the premier personal protective organization in the world. It's supposed to be the best in the world. Or one or more somebody's left President Trump exposed for a reason. And we out here in the hinterland are not buying what they're selling. They're not giving us any information, and there's a reason. And I would love to know what it is.
Yeah, listen, I understand the sentiment. I do. I look at it and I just go, what has happened? Because I was in a lot of presidential events where the Secret Service was responsible for security, hundreds of them, honestly, over the course of my career. And I had high regard for them, and I thought that they were the premier security organization. And I mean, you don't know these guys; they don't buddy up to you, but you get to watch them, and you understand just how dedicated they were to their mission. What happened? What happened? And I suspect that what we're going to find when all is said and done is that under the Biden administration, with Kimberly Cheadle in position, they made some radical changes to the way the Secret Service operates, and that they lessened the standards, and they did not stay focused on their primary mission, which is protecting their protectees. And I think they got away from their prime mission and got too worked up on DEI and other stuff. And I think we're going to find that this really goes back to the leadership, and it is not the organization it once was. I'm hoping that the deputy director has a great deal of experience, will step in there and do whatever has to be done. As somebody said, that the Secret Service needs to be turned upside down and shaken pretty good. And I think maybe he's the guy to do it. Although I don't know how long he's going to be in charge. Biden could put somebody else in there. So I hope that they get their act together, but I think that's what's going on. It was malfeasance on about 10 different levels. Jimmy in Shelbyville, you're up with Brian on the Drive. What do you say, Jimmy?
Yes. I was born and raised in Memphis, and in 1980 I moved to the Central Valley in California. I don't know if it was Modesto or Fresno, but there was a shopping center called the Manchester Shopping Center.
Yeah.
But there was a Chinese restaurant in there called the Mallard, and they featured a Peking duck. So I guess they're going to have to change their menu to Duck Biden.
Yeah, because he's a lame duck. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. That was a long way to go for that bit of information. Thank you for the call, Jimmy. Don in Murfreesboro, you're on with Brian on the Drive. What do you say, Don?
Yes, sir. I appreciate you. I love the show. I'm just driving back towards Murfreesboro here after work. But I had a question about a comment J.D. Vance had made, I guess, or using against him. Something, and Jennifer Aniston is out there using it. Something about cats. I didn't catch the whole thing. I just wondered if you had heard about it.
Yeah, I can give you a little bit on it. I mean, apparently he said something about saying that, I think he compared, I'm a little fuzzy on this, but I think he compared Kamala Harris to, childless women who love their cats or something like that. And Jennifer Aniston took great umbrage at that, as I understand it, because she has had difficulty having children. She wanted to have children, but apparently has had some difficulty in that regard, and she took great umbrage at it. I mean, I think it's a minor blip, but that's apparently what it's all about. It has been out there. It has been floating around, but, look, people are going to learn about J.D. Vance over time, and I think what they're going to learn more and more is they're going to like a lot about this guy. He's a pretty impressive individual. Thank you, Don, for the call. Darren in Scottsville, Kentucky. Up in Kentucky land. Hey, what's up? What's going on with you?
Hey, Brian. Hey, I want to ask you, I listen to you every day and watch all the conservative stuff on TV. I never hear anybody speaking about Sarah Huckabee, maybe at some point in the future, having some kind of like national aspiration. But do you have any inside scoop on her?
Well, I mean, I think she basically sent up the flare early on, the word that she didn't want to be considered as a running mate or anything like that. She's very dedicated to the state of Arkansas, and she's doing, by the way, by all accounts, a bang-up job there. I saw her make an appearance on the stage at the RNC, and she looked good. I mean, she looked sharp. She really, I think, made a real impression on Republicans. And I would say she's somebody to watch in the future. I mean, wonderful that Republicans have such a deep bench of talent. We truly do. And the Democrats, when you look at their bench, it's pretty dismal. They don't really have much. But I like her a lot, and I think she is going to be a star in the future, no doubt about that. Alan in Springfield, you're up next. What do you say, Alan?
Brian, first-time caller, long-time listener. When it comes to people, the misappropriation of campaign funds, in my opinion, when it comes to people that have donated to the Biden campaign for Biden for president, now that Kamala Harris has taken the nomination, and if she ends up being the one running, what happens to all the Biden donations? Because not that I am a donator to Biden, but if I was a donator to Biden and I choose my candidate, and then all of a sudden they switch it, and I don't want the one they switch to, does my money go to her by default?
Yeah.
I mean, wouldn't that be a misappropriation of campaign funds?
Well, as I understand it, when you make a donation, it wasn't to the Biden campaign, it was to the Biden-Harris campaign, and the word that came out when this was all burbling and about to break that she was going to become the nominee, it was very clear, there were many stories about it, that Kamala Harris was the only person who could spend the money that had been sent to the Biden-Harris campaign, that Biden could spend it and Harris could spend it, but nobody else could spend it, which may be the reason why she had a leg up with this whole process. Because if they truly had an open convention and they chose somebody else, there would be about $100 million laying on the table that nobody could use because it could only be spent by Harris or by Biden, but not by another nominee. It couldn't be transferred over. But apparently she does have the authority to spend that money and will do so. So they didn't lose that. It was well over $100 million that was at stake there. Thanks for the call. Let's go to Jessie Ann in Murfreesboro. Jessie Ann, hello. You're on with Brian on the Drive. What's up, Jessie Ann?
Thanks for getting to me, Brian. I listen to you guys all the time. Love it. I just wanted to point out that Biden kind of looked like Nosferatu, had a fresh pound of blood and some makeup on, addressing all of his cronies. So,
Oh, we just lost you. I was liking what you were saying there. I mean, he did look like he had a fresh tan. Looked like.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay. No, he did. He looked like he got right out of his coffin, had a fresh pint of blood, and got some makeup on, so he didn't look so pasty, and didn't have to sniff a new kid.
You know, it's not a huge accomplishment to sit in a chair for 11 minutes and read off the teleprompter. It doesn't take a lot. And so he's meeting the bare minimum standards at this point. And by the way, as I said before, and I'll say again a little bit later when we take up the conversation on last night's speech again, I think he honestly, it was a nothing burger speech. Truly, not much there. Let's go to Charlie in Brush Creek. Hello, Charlie. You're up with Brian on the drive.
Hey, well, what I wanted to talk about was hate speech and freedom speech. If I'm in a movie theater and I scream fire, that's not a speech that I'm allowed to do. It causes people to possibly harm themselves or whatever. But what if I say someone's a Nazi or a Hitler or a racist or whatever? Especially if I'm in a position of prominence, wouldn't that be in that line of thought?
Well, you know what? I think that there are free speech protections in the world of politics that go, the Supreme Court has said that the most important free speech is political speech. And so a great deal of deference is given when people say things in a political arena. I might find it reprehensible. I may not like it. But there is, I would defend to the right your right to say what you want to say, even if I disagree with it. You know what I'm saying? That's sort of where I am on that. But yeah, you know what? It's funny how they will label anything that Republicans say that comes off as a little harsh as hate speech. But their speech is the most hateful speech I've ever heard. Some of the things that they have said, and it gets a pass by the mainstream media. It's not right at all. We need to understand that in the mainstream media, when they're out there reporting certain things, they look at what we say and they scrutinize it, and everything that the other side say gets a pass. It ain't fair. But that is what it is. 50 minutes now past the hour. Good conversation. I really have enjoyed that. We'll do Phone Your Farm Friday tomorrow to wrap up the whole week. Right now, 51 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock. Grace Point Healthcare. Here's what you need to know about Grace Point Healthcare. The medicine is affordable. The medical treatment is affordable. It is comprehensive, and it is convenient. Isn't that what you want? It's delivered the old-fashioned way. Start thinking about going back to school, and maybe your kid needs a sport physical. That's coming up soon. Grace Point provides complete physicals for kids of all ages. Scheduling an international vacation or mission trip, Grace Point offers complete travel immunizations and is CDC certified for yellow fever and all other international immunization protocols. And because they will see you the same day or the next day, you don't have to wait days or weeks to see a doctor. What good is having a doctor if you can't see him when you need him? That's modern medicine at your convenience. Located on Main Street in Franklin, here's the number, 615-599-6868 to set up your appointment.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Good evening. It is 6 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Mostly cloudy, 85 degrees. A traffic report and a weather forecast are coming up. Vice President Kamala Harris is pushing a White House ceasefire and hostage release deal between Israel and Hamas. The presumptive Democratic presidential nominee spoke after meeting with the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, earlier today in Washington.
There has been hopeful movement in the talks to secure an agreement on this deal. And as I just told Prime Minister Netanyahu, it is time to get this deal done.
Moving out west now, flames are spreading quickly on a wildfire in Northern California near the city of Chico. Alex Stone is on the West Coast.
What's called the Park Fire isn't the largest of the many wildfires burning in the West right now, but it has exploded in one day to an incredible 45,000 acres, flames moving 4,000 acres an hour. The National Guard was activated at one point to help get people out. Logging roads were used to drive them out of towns where roads were blocked by flames. Now a 42-year-old man accused of starting the fire is under arrest. Alex Stone, ABC News.
Back here in Nashville, the New Jersey woman who went missing in Music City overnight, she was found alive this morning. Metro Nashville police had been searching all morning for the woman who was separated from her friends on Lower Broad early this morning. Police say that Alexandria Chummel, 33, is visiting Nashville from New Jersey. She and her friends were last out together at about 3rd and Broadway around 2 in the morning. She was found alive in a wooded area under the Gay Street Bridge at about 9 o'clock. She told authorities she ended up in the Cumberland River, but has no clue how she got there. She was put in the hospital for evaluation, but she is expected to be okay. Finally, former President Donald Trump, he's slated to deliver a speech at the Bitcoin conference here in Nashville on Saturday afternoon. After his speech at the conference, there's an offer for attendees to meet with the former president. However, you're going to have to pony up some cash or maybe Bitcoin. It'll cost you a minimum of $800,000 to meet with the former president. Trump's Saturday speech is slated to last about 30 minutes, beginning at around 2 o'clock. Conference leaders, they're expecting more than 20,000 people to attend the annual event. Conference officials said they have been in active talks with their security teams and are coordinating and cooperating with Trump's Secret Service detail to make sure the event will be as safe as possible. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionality, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
6:06 on Super Talk 99.7. Good evening, everyone. Hour number 4 of The Drive on this 25th day of July. We're getting it done for you here, trying to keep you informed and up to date on things that are going on in the world around you. And boy, I'm telling you, the information is coming so fast and furious. Life comes at you very fast, and sometimes you just got to tune into 99.7 WTN and get updated.
That's what Ferris Bueller told me.
That's what I said. Life comes at you fast. What was the rest of that line? I forget about it. But the truth of the matter is it does come at you fast. And you need to take a breath every once in a while. And, it's a lot to absorb. And look, here's the thing. I mean, this is the wonderful thing about this radio station and the talent on this station. And I use that, of course, reservedly when I use the word talent. But no, I don't. No, I mean, you got Dan Mattis in the morning. He gets you informed right off the bat. Then you got Chris Hand, and I love Chris Hand's show. I listen to it a lot. Matt Murphy comes on after that, and you get the whole Matt Murphy experience, and he gives you everything you need to know. And then I come on and try to wrap it up at the end of the day, telling you what has happened. You know who has the most difficult job of all of it? I think Matt Murphy does, because things are happening during his show. You have to catch a lot of things on the fly during that particular part of the day from noon to about 3. You got to pick it up. You got to interpret it. You got to turn it around. And so, but at the end of the day, listen, what we do, we dedicate ourselves to keeping ourselves so abreast of what's happening. We know you can't do that. I mean, many of you do. Many of you have time that you can go and study, and you've got, a lot of time on your hands, but a lot of people don't. And you get the opportunity. You're going to work. As I say, life intervenes. You got things to do. You're a busy people. When we're busy, we're focused on the thing that that you care about, which is about what's going on in the world around you and what's going on in the world of politics, what's going on basically anywhere that is important. And so that's what we do, and that we're here. If you want to check in, we'll get you up to speed as quickly as you possibly can be. So you go about and live your life, and when you have a minute or two, check in with us, and you'll know. Now, for example, this afternoon there have been a couple of things. Kamala Harris talked to the reporters at the step of her aircraft. There's a whole little routine. Reporters who travel now, she'll have a full-time travel pool with her, as she is now the presumptive nominee of the Democrat Party. And so when the plane lands, the reporters gather near the engine, the left engine of the aircraft. And then when the vice president comes down the steps, she can choose if she wants to walk over and talk to reporters. And she did so. She wanted to talk about debates. She had something she wanted to say about the potential debate with Donald Trump.
So many of you have been asking me about the debate, and I'll tell you, I'm ready to debate Donald Trump. I have agreed to the previously agreed upon September 10th debate. He agreed to that previously. Now it appears he's backpedaling, but I'm ready. And I think the voters deserve to see the split screen that exists in this race on a debate stage, and so I'm ready. Let's go.
Will you do it on Fox News?
Comment on the protest yesterday.
And then she walked away. Of course she did. Have you noticed? Laughing Kamala is gone. We're not getting this Kamala anymore. Where did she go? I mean, she was there a couple, 2 or 3 days ago. She's not there anymore. And maybe that's a good thing. But I mean, I think somebody told her, quit laughing. Quit laughing. I promise you there's been a focus group on this. Democrats put together a bunch of people in the room and say, what do you think about her? Well, she laughs like a braying donkey. And she is sort of a braying donkey, Democrat donkey, all that. Okay, sorry. So there's that. All right, so Kamala wants to debate. Now, then she went to the White House and had a very brief photo op with Benjamin Netanyahu, who had earlier met with the president. Then he met with the vice president, and they're gonna do this now. Normally Benjamin Netanyahu wouldn't have said 2 words to Kamala Harris, but now they're gonna run him out and make him meet with her in a big dog and pony show. Why? Because they want to show that that Kamala Harris is involved in the serious business of the White House. She'll be doing a lot of this kind of stuff. Things that she would never have done before, she'll be doing because she is now the presumptive nominee. And she's got a tightrope to walk on this issue with regards to Israel and Hamas, because Democrats are of two minds. You got Jewish Democrats who feel very strongly that the Biden administration has been a little weak and have been too supportive of Hamas. And then you have a great number of young people out there who are disenchanted with her because they, for some reason, I don't know why, think that Hamas should be supported and that Israel is the bad guy in all of this. We all know that's not the case. So she had a little meeting. She went behind closed doors. She did the perfunctory photo op, and then they went immediately behind closed. And when she came out, this is what she had to say.
So I just had a frank and constructive meeting with Prime Minister Netanyahu. I told him that I will always ensure that Israel is able to defend itself, including from Iran and Iran-backed militias such as Hamas and Hezbollah. From when I was a young girl collecting funds to plant trees for Israel, to my time in the United States Senate and now at the White House, I have had an unwavering commitment to the existence of the State of Israel, to its security, and to the people of Israel.
That's pretty strong for her to come out and say that, given all of the controversy.
I've said it many times, but it bears repeating. Israel has a right to defend itself, and how it does so matters.
Well, there's a but coming, don't worry.
Hamas is a brutal terrorist organization. On October 7, Hamas triggered this war when it massacred 1,200 innocent people, including 44 Americans. Hamas has committed horrific acts of sexual violence and took 250 hostages. There are American citizens who remain captive in Gaza. Sagi Deko Hen, Hirsch Goldberg, Poland, Idan Alexander, Keith Siegel, Omer Nutra, and the remains of American citizens Judy Weinstein, Gad Haggai, and Itai Hen are still being held in Gaza. I have met with the families of these American hostages multiple times now, and I've told them each time they are not alone, and I stand with them. And President Biden and I are working every day to bring them home. I also expressed with the Prime Minister my serious concern about the scale of human suffering in Gaza, including the death of far too many innocent civilians. And I made clear my serious concern about the dire humanitarian situation there, with over 2 million people facing high levels of food insecurity, and 500,000 people facing catastrophic levels of acute food insecurity. What has happened in Gaza over the past 9 months is devastating. The images of dead children and desperate, hungry people fleeing for safety, sometimes displaced for the second, third, or fourth time. We cannot look away in the face of these tragedies. We cannot allow ourselves to become numb to the suffering, and I will not be silent.
So there you have it. She's trying to walk that line. On one hand, saying I support Israel. On the other hand, but you guys need to back off. It's a difficult line for them to walk right now. I mean, there's really there's no way to win in that situation, and that whole issue of what has happened in Israel and the attacks on Israel and the response by Israel against the Gaza and Hamas. It's been there's just no way for Democrats to win, because either side they come down on, they irritate part of their base. And so they're trying to walk the line there. And again, all of these kinds of things, let's be honest with it, are just meant to sort of burnish the reputation of the vice president as someone who is seriously involved in these issues of the day and meeting with world leaders. She hasn't met with any world leaders to speak of. This would never have happened unless she had if she had not just become the presumptive nominee of her party. So This is gamesmanship. This is using the bully pulpit of the White House to build up a vice president before she goes out so that she is seen as a serious individual who doesn't cackle anymore. I want the cackling Kamala back. I mean, what happened to her? Where did she go? I mean, there she is. There's no, it's going to be sad if we don't get to see cackling Kamala anymore.
Oh, she'll return.
Yeah, she can't help herself. She will forget she's not supposed to laugh. Very serious. She's, now I've never seen her serious ever. She's always smiling and cutting up and, like a big party girl. She had she went to the big sorority meeting the other day with all of her old sorority. They held a big thing. She couldn't hang around to have a meeting with Netanyahu yesterday. She had to go off, and she couldn't be at the speech that he gave. Didn't want to appear there. Had to go off and do this event with the old sorority. And she was all smiles there.
She was also on RuPaul's Drag Race.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How did I miss that?
Yeah.
Well, one must have one's priorities in order.
That's right.
Don't worry about a big speech on the world stage by Netanyahu. Give that to Ben Cardin. Give it to Benny. He'll do anything. So there you go. And this, of course, against the backdrop of these ugly, and I mean very ugly protests yesterday at, they were all over Washington, but they ended up mostly at Union Station. You know what Union Station is? It's the place where you get your subway. It's a place where you get your trains to get out of downtown Washington and go back home. So they were on their way out, and they decided to have one last stand at Union Station. I know Union Station like the back of my hand. Believe me, I can't tell you how many times I've gone there for lunch. The Fox News Bureau is only a couple of blocks away, and if you've ever been downtown, it's sort of a green glass building. And so we used to, when you had a minute to go get a bite to eat, you couldn't go very far, so you'd scramble over to Union Station, go to the food court, and sit there and eat your food real quick and then hustle back. So, I mean, I've been there so many times. I know that building, and it's they took this old train station. They were going to actually tear it down at one point, and they decided to save it. And they did a remarkable job of restoring it. It is really one of the most beautiful buildings in all of Washington, and it's turned into a place where you catch your trains, you catch your subway, and it's really a destination. I mean, unto itself. And to see them, defacing it and spray painting the monument of Christopher Columbus that's out front, and to take down all the there's a bunch of flagpoles there, and they took down all the flagpoles and ran up the Hamas flag. And took down the American flag and burned it. That's just ugly. And last night, if you didn't know, some Republican congressman went over there and took down the Hamas flags and reflew an American flag that had not been burned. Of course, they brought one with them from the Capitol. So I'm glad that they did that. But I mean, my goodness, what an ugly scene yesterday. I don't know about you, but I saw those images and I was sickened by them. And that's, those are the people that are out there right now. These are the quality people who are protesting. And apparently, I'm hearing that a lot of them from California, a lot of them from New York, none of them from the local area, for sure. 20 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Today, the Manhattan DA asking a New York judge to turn down former President Trump's request to toss his criminal conviction. And we'll have today's money news. That comes up at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
25 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I am Brian Wilson, and we've got about an hour and, 5 minutes. 35 minutes about. Math, it's hard. 35 minutes left before we go and call it a day. And then we will be followed, of course, by Mark Levin, the great one. I always like setting a stage for Mark Levin. We need to get him on the show. I would love to have him on the show. It had been a long time. He came on to the morning show a couple of times, I think. And I think we'll get him again. I'll just have to set that up. Here we go. You're going to hear a lot from the Biden administration. How the people coming into this country illegally has dropped dramatically. That shows the success of the Biden administration, which is unmitigated. It really is. I mean, it's not only that, it's also, it really is. It's just like I can't believe they even try to pull that one off. After 3.5 years of an abysmal border policy, they're trying to claim that, things are better now because of the Biden administration and our policies. We got it done. No, you know what's happening is that the cartels are pretty smart. The cartels understand that they're going to have a much better time under a Democrat administration than they would have if Donald Trump becomes elected and becomes president. They know they're in for a rough time. And I think that, they're not stupid. They watch what's going on in America very closely. This is really true. And if it's to their advantage, they will slow down the surge of migrants. They will tell the coyotes, don't send many people across. We need to slow down. We need to give them, some cover. Because we don't want Donald Trump. They're playing that game, and they will play that game. Doesn't mean that there's not a problem. From thenationalpulse.com, hundreds of illegal aliens from around 12 countries are marching from southern Mexico toward the U.S., aiming to reach the southern border before potential border closures if former President Donald Trump wins in November. Miguel Salazar, a Salvadoran, expressed fear that a restored Trump administration would stop letting in migrants through the CBP One app used for scheduling appointments at U.S. border posts to present asylum claims. The app is accessible only once migrants reach Mexico City or northern states. Departing from Ciudad Hidalgo, adjacent to Mexico's border with Guatemala, the group waited for weeks for travel permits to proceed northward. Organizing into larger groups like this may reduce the risk of gang violence and interception by Mexican immigration authorities, though such caravans often disperse due to fatigue. Well, we'll see what happens. But I don't think that they're going to stop coming. And it doesn't mean that all the people who are here are still not illegally, are not causing problems. Listen to this. It's in our own backyard. From Fox 17, according to the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, Ulises Ragos Martinez is an illegal immigrant from Mexico. The 24-year-old is accused of a hit-and-run crash that claimed the life of Matthew Carney, the owner of the Smoking Thighs restaurant. Fox News has also confirmed that Ragos Martinez has a criminal history. Judge Tim Todd is accused of dismissing 3 charges during a preliminary hearing back on March 6th. They're trying to learn more about it. So again, the people who have come across, not all of them are criminals. Some of them are. A good number of them are not good people. And they come here. I mean, Trump is right when he says that some countries have emptied out their insane asylums. Some countries have emptied out their jails, and they say, we're going to let you go, but you got to go to America. Get out of here. Go away. It's happening. So the migrant problem and the border problem still exist. We still have fentanyl coming across. We still have immigrants coming across. And what about the 11, some people say 11 million people who came here illegally? Where are they? Who are they? Some of these people we don't know anything about. And some of them, by the way, are not migrants from South America or Central America or Mexico. Some of them are just bad people sent here by our adversaries. And I fear those folks most of all. 30 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock.
Good evening. It's 6:30, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Mostly cloudy, 84 degrees on Music Row. A forecast and a traffic report are on the way. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, he asked the New York judge to reject former President Trump's attempt to throw out his criminal conviction. It comes following the Supreme Court's presidential immunity decision. Here's ABC's Aaron Katursky on Bragg's main argument.
He says paying money to a porn star happened before Trump ever took office. And also in this 66-page filing says that paying hush money to a porn actress is entirely personal with no relationship whatsoever to any official duty of the presidency. So Alvin Bragg's office is really pushing back here and saying that the Supreme Court's immunity opinion, that landmark opinion, just does not apply in this criminal case.
Now let's turn to today's closing money news with Daria Albinger.
From ABC News Wall Street, now the markets steadied themselves a day after historic losses. The Dow closed up 81 points, while the S&P gave up 28 and the Nasdaq fell 161. Most stocks climbed, although big tech continued to fall. We are heading into a volatile time for the markets if we aren't already there. Analysts say earnings, economic reports, and geopolitical concerns are all likely to impact stocks from now through at least the election. That said, the nation's economy sped up last quarter to a strong 2.8 annual pace, with consumers and businesses helping to drive the growth despite persistent interest rates. The gross domestic product picked up from April to June from the 1.4% pace in the first quarter. The latest numbers reinforce confidence among economists that the U.S. economy is on the verge of achieving that rare soft landing, where high interest rates tame inflation without sending the economy into a recession.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, the last time you were at an auto repair shop, was it stinky? I mean, did it smell bad, smelly, greasy old rags lying around? A filthy countertop that you didn't want to touch? Another thing that stinks is repair shops that keep your car forever. They're not honest, so they don't call back when they say they will. If that was your last experience at a vehicle repair shop, listen, why don't you check out Eurofix? They take the stink out of European auto repair. At Eurofix, you get a free 15-minute no-wrench inspection with an estimate at every visit. No high-pressure sales tactics. At Eurofix, you get a 3-year nationwide warranty and a free loaner car with every repair. Never pay dealer prices. Eurofix now in Franklin, 100 Oaks, Murfreesboro, Belmead, and Mount Juliet, their newest location. Call 844-EUROFIX, that's 844-EUROFIX, or visit myEurofix.com and tell them your friend and radio buddy Brian Wilson sent you.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
$37 now past the hour of 6 o'clock. We're winding down our show, heading into the 7 o'clock hour, where we'll hear from Mark Levin. He'll take over and carry on, as he often does. I think we need to start a campaign to free Butch and Suni. Butch and Suni need to come home, and you need to free them. Do you know who Butch and Suni are?
Butch and Suni?
Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams. They're the test pilots who were flying the Boeing Starliner to the International Space Station. Butch Wilmore, by the way, from Mount Juliet.
That's right.
He's a Mount Julietan. Julietan, what do you call him? I don't know what you call. Resident of Mount Juliet, grew up there. Suni Williams, they went to the space station above the Boeing capsule, the Starliner, and they were supposed to stay there a week and then come back, because all it really was a test of this capsule to make sure it worked. Now, the SpaceX capsule, the Dragon capsule, has been going back and forth to the space station without any issues at all, and Boeing was way behind the X people, the SpaceX people, and the Dragon capsule, and they finally, and when they got there, well, they couldn't go back. They had a bunch of thrusters that failed. And they had helium leaks. There were, I think, as they were arriving, I don't know how they docked this thing. It must have been a pretty good job by Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams, because they had lost 4 out of their 5 thrusters. As they arrived, they were having thruster issues. Nothing worse than being an astronaut with faulty thrusters. And so they have been there now, Chris, 50 days. Instead of 7.
It's a little bit longer than planned.
Well, I mean, it's great. Butch Wilmore and Suni, they don't have any real responsibilities. I guess they just get to go and look at the Earth rotate beneath them. I don't know. I'm sure they're helping up with the cleanup duties and cooking dinner every once in a while. That cooking dinner basically is putting hot water in a bag. Yeah. But nonetheless, they are, they're there. And I guess, they're using up resources and aboard the International Space Station, eating up the food, and nobody knows when they're going to go back. NASA's Commercial Crew Program Manager Steve Stitch said mission managers are not ready to announce a return date. The goal is to bring Wilmore and Williams back aboard the Starliner. We'll come home when we're ready. Stitch did acknowledge, and this would be beautiful. Stitch acknowledged that backup options are under review. SpaceX's Dragon capsule could be used to bring them back.
Wow.
Oh, don't you know? I mean, Boeing has had a bad run of it, haven't they? Yeah. Oh, my gosh. And this would be, that would be like the most embarrassing thing ever. We're testing the Starliner capsule, and it failed so badly that SpaceX had to come get our astronauts. Oh, my goodness. Would that be something? They say NASA always has contingency plans. Engineers last week completed testing on a spare thruster in the New Mexico desert and will rip it apart trying to understand what went wrong. 5 thrusters failed as the capsule approached the space station on June 6th, the day after liftoff. 4 have since been reactivated. I think, just between you and me, I think this is a much more serious thing than they have let on. I think it must have been pretty dodgy for those astronauts to get hooked up to the International Space Station. I really do believe that it was probably really remarkable work by the astronauts to get it there. Now, they say 4 of the 5 have been reactivated. It appears degraded seals are to blame for helium leaks and thruster problems, entirely separate issues, but more analysis is needed. The team will test fire the capsule's thrusters this weekend while docked at the space station to gather more data. So each of the 28 maneuvering thrusters can fit in the hand and weigh 2 pounds. Apparently, it doesn't take very much in a thruster to help a spacecraft maneuver in zero gravity.
Makes sense.
Just a little, and that's all it takes.
Yeah.
But when
they got to work.
But they got to work. That's right. They can't not work. Wouldn't it be something if Boeing had to pay SpaceX to come get their astronauts? Wouldn't that be a hoot? Boeing, I think it's a good company, basically. They've fallen them hard times. I think they got a little sloppy. They sold off a bunch of their companies and counted on other people to produce parts that they used to build themselves under their quality control, and I think things got out of control, and I think they've had a bad run. I still think that the 737 is the most reliable aircraft out there today, especially the older ones. It's the newer ones that have had the problem since they went to this new way of building aircraft. By the way, when I was in Montana, we saw a Boeing fuselage on the back of a train.
Really?
Yeah, I guess coming out of Seattle. And headed somewhere, I don't know where it was headed, but it was just the raw fuselage. And it was green.
Wow. Never seen that before.
Yeah, I had never seen that before, but it definitely was a 737 fuselage. There's little doubt about that. Pretty interesting. In other news, the judge has rejected Disney's bid to toss out the Gina Carano lawsuit. Now, this all goes back to her firing from the show The Mandalorian in 2021. 2021. She left, and then The Mandalorian came on and did another season. You understand that I'm a big fan of that show. I hate what they did to Gina Carano. I was such a big fan of the show that we named our dog after Baby Yoda.
That's right.
Grogu. And Grogu's now 3. And we haven't had a Mandalorian episode in like 2.5 years.
Yeah, I gave up on it.
Yeah, I hate that because it was a great series. But Disney terminated Ms. Carano after she posted on social media and posts that supported conservatives and a quote from an executive saying she didn't align with company values. They let her go, and she's kept a lawsuit going again, and apparently it's still alive. Disney's been trying to get them to drop the suit and asking the judge to throw it out, and the judge keeps saying no. But, I mean, gosh, this tells you a little bit about the legal system. 2.5 years, 3 years, she's been fighting this fight. By the way, I thought she was great in that series, and
yeah,
I'd like to see her in something else. And I hope that, somebody, apparently in Hollywood, there's this whole group of actors who want to produce movies that will, be something that conservatives can embrace. And they're trying to set up a movie theater. I think there's some really well-known conservatives in Hollywood. There aren't many, but there are a few who are setting up a whole studio. And I hope that people like Carano can find work there. Because, she shouldn't be on the sidelines. She did a great job in that series. He was very good. From hotair.com, I'm reading this. This is a quote of a headline. More companies are mandating return to office and employees are pissed. There's a subcurrent to the employment figures and the commercial real estate numbers that the Fed watches. What's actually happening down in the trenches of companies who rent those offices and employ those people. Once upon a time, and hastened by the pandemic, technology was predicted to be the tool that would render all but the most specialized hands-on work remote capable and office-free. Hundreds of thousands of U.S. workers found themselves safely tucked in their homes by employers, grateful to be able to do so while keeping the businesses, whatever it was, up and running. Employees were happy to as clams not to have to face commutes, deal with panic of childcare for random COVID school closings or buy new office clothes. In many cases, an assumption was made that this would be the way going forward, the norm rather than the exception, and life settled in and was planned around working remotely. Oh, those people who work remotely! What a bunch of slackers they are.
Prima donnas.
Those people.
Yeah.
It would always be like this until it wasn't. In September of 22, GM, General Motors, was one of the first to put its toe in the water of y'all come back to work. I wrote a piece, this author wrote a piece about the backpedaling the company executives did shortly after the blast they received. They had to back off because employees said that, well, if you do that, I quit. I'll go find work elsewhere. Again, those people are such slackers. People who work at home, don't actually go into the office. And Zoom staffers are furious as remote work declared dead in an ironic twist of fate. It's Zoom that makes all of this possible because now you do it by Zoom call. So apparently the thing is that a lot of companies have decided to try to push people back to the office, and what the companies are finding is they're having to back away from that. That ultimately they've come to the conclusion that, well, we really are doing okay. You know what it is? You know what I think it is? My personal thing. Why it is that it's like managers have to justify their existence. And if they can't see you, they assume that you're not working. I work harder here now than I did when I was coming into the office every day. And I put in more hours here in my home office than I ever did. Because, I worked the morning, so I was putting in about 2 hours of prep time before I came on the air. That's not to say that's the only prep time I did. I did some prep the night before, but I did about 2 hours in the morning. I'd get there 2 hours early, so I'd be ready. Now I have 3.5, 4 hours, whatever I need. And of course, it's a different time slot, but I still put in more time than I did before. So I think a lot of companies have decided to walk away from trying to push people back to work. I just, we're not slackers.
Sure. Okay.
Okay, so now this is hacking me off. Southwest Airlines, I said this before, is ditching, say it's not true, Southwest Airlines, ditching the open seating on flights. Under pressure to boost profits, they plan big changes for boarding flights and flyers who want premium seats. They think that people who fly Southwest Airlines want first-class service. They want a first class and a coach. I want to disabuse them of their notion because they're wrong.
Didn't they try to do this a couple years ago?
They talk about it, but every time they do, there's a hue and cry.
Yep.
But I'll tell you what the problem is. It's this other story I have right here. Southwest profits fall 46% as airline takes urgent steps to increase revenue. They're looking for ways to charge you more, and so they're going to give you a premium service sort of a Southwest. See, I fly Southwest first class all the time. You just got to know how to game the system. And there's a way, the first class in Southwest is a bulkhead seat where you have more legroom or the exit row. So, there's a way to get first class on Southwest, but Southwest say it isn't so. Don't mess with what has worked for 53 years. 50 minutes now, past the hour.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.